Test, 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 test. Test, test. Test, 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 test. Test, test. Test, 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 test. Test, test. Testing. 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 Test, test. Test. All right. So it is 7:18 a.m. Oh wait, let me start. Test, 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 test. All right. So it is 7:18 a.m. on 7/11/2024. I thought I'd start a podcast. So usually I wake up in the morning pissed off that I woke up. Like, why the fuck didn't I die in my sleep? Like so many before me, you know. Just waking up pissed off every day. Like, fuck, I'm still here. What the fuck did I do so bad to deserve this place, right? And so I just start cussing out, just talking to myself, you know. I'm sure all my neighbors and shit, because I live in a 1 bedroom apartment my whole life since I was 16. Well, that's not true. I got my first apartment when I was like 20 or something like that. But I'm sure all my neighbors are like, fuck, why is he just sitting up there talking to himself and shit, right? But it's like, I can't bottle this shit up, you know? Putting up with all this bullshit and all this pig shit, nuttier than squirrel shit, longer than snake shit, just completely ridiculousness 24/7, you know? Envy and jealousy run rampant around me 24/7. And I can't just bottle it up. Like, I honestly believe that if I just went mute, because, like, I went mute for a day because I was done talking. I honestly think if I just went mute, I'd probably spontaneously combust or something. You know what I mean? From just bottling all this rage up. You know what I mean? And it's like, I don't hurt anybody. I've never hurt anybody. You know what I mean? Accidents happen. I've defended myself. You know, but I never intentionally go out of my way to hurt somebody. Like everybody intentionally goes out of their way to hurt me. You know what I mean? And so the worst thing that I do to people is I cuss them out. And I remember my mom telling me literally the other day how she wishes that she would rather me punch her. She's like, I wish you'd just punch me in the face. It would hurt less than your words. And the whole time I'm thinking, I'm like, I don't know, because I have been punched. You know, I've been beaten, I've been cut, I've been shot at, raped and molested and shit. And I'm pretty sure that the physical pain is a lot worse than a couple of words, you know? And, like, don't get me wrong, my mental pain, you know, all the shit that I've been through, dealing with the physical pain mentally, I can admit is more painful than the physical pain and shit. But when people cuss me out, I don't fucking care. It doesn't bother me any. Like, fuck you, Vinny, you're a faggot, you're a bitch boy, whatever. It doesn't bother me. Could not give less of a fuck, you know? Actually, I get hurt more when people don't talk to me. You know what I mean? I would rather somebody cuss me out than for somebody to completely ignore me, right? You know, I've lived my whole life in isolation. I've been in and out of every mental hospital and jail in Colorado, America, Colorado, USA. I've been in all kinds of cells. You know what I mean? And isolation is the worst punishment that you can give to somebody. You know what I mean? And I've been isolated my whole life. And I'm pretty sure that's a lot worse than me saying, fuck you, you're an idiot. I think that me being physically hurt and mentally tortured and shit within facilities and shit is a little bit, I mean, just call me crazy. I think it's a little bit more hurtful than me telling you the truth. You know, for me to come out and say, you're a fucking idiot. And I think that what hurts them so much is that nothing bad has ever happened to them in their life, and those are the worst of the worst people. The people where there's nothing bad that happens to them in their life. And for somebody to say, fuck you, and they get so fucking butthurt about it, that they're like, oh, that hurts, you know. Like, my initials is VTV. My name is literally fuck you. You know, if you see my VTV symbols, my gang sign that I created, you just make your middle fingers here. You just throw your middle fingers up and make the VTV symbol. So my name is literally fuck you. So when people say fuck you to me, I see it as a compliment. I'm like, oh, thank you. You're a fan of my work. You know, when people say fuck you, Vinny, I'm like, thank you. You know, I fight hard for you to have that middle finger. Use it wisely, you know. Use it with pride. Fuck the world. What the fuck, VTV, fuck the world. You know, that's my logo. That's my saying. And I just think it's funny. I think it's fucking ridiculous. How people can get all butthurt from what I say. You know, like it says in the Bible, God's not allowed to speak or he'll destroy all fucking existence. I'm not saying that I have a God complex. I hate myself. I hate myself more than I hate anything. I see myself less than everybody. You know what I mean? It's not about me. It's not about you. It's about us all. I'm not a selfish person. But I am not allowed to speak. And so I have literally, and I've tattooed this on my palm multiple times, and the ink it's not sticking. So I did it again last night. But it says on my left palm, I am mute. And there's a lot of reasoning behind this tattoo, and I actually came up with it when I was sitting in jail for the fucking BB gun shit. Because I'm not allowed to speak. My whole life I have been interrupted, talked over, or completely ignored. And anytime I do, every time I am allowed to say something and I finally say something, I speak the truth. You know what I mean? Even when I'm lying with little white lies, being sarcastic and shit, I'm still speaking the truth. You know what I mean? And that's what bothers them so much, is the truth. Because you got to be asleep to believe the American dream. You know, it's to believe the American dream, you got to be asleep to believe it. They're all living in lies. They're all living in a world of lies. And so when you speak the fucking truth to them, it shatters their entire little world. It wakes them up and drags them into reality. Makes them have to grow up and deal with with reality and the shit that they're doing and shit. And that's what fucking hurts them. And that's why they don't want me to talk. Because I speak the truth. So I woke up pissed off today. And I went on Facebook and shit. That's usually what I do when I'm bored. You know, I watch TV, listen to music, go on Facebook, try to talk to people. Because I am a lonely dude. And all you get is scammers on the internet. You know what I mean? So you go out in the world and you're face to face with people, all you get are lies and masks. And then you go on the internet and all you get is scammers and catfish. You know, you'll be talking to somebody thinking you're having a good conversation and shit, like, oh yeah, I agree with you, I think that too, that's really cool of you, yeah. And then the next thing you know, they're like, so can I have a gift card? A gift card? Like, what? And my fucking grandparents gave me gift cards for my birthdays and my fucking Christmases and shit, and I fucking hated it. Why the fuck would you even want a gift card? Those things are useless. They're stupid. I never understood why they made gift cards in the first place. Every time I was given a gift card, I'm like, why can't I have cash so that I can go actually fucking buy something? No, we gave you a gift card so that you don't use the money on drugs. But drugs is what I want. Like, I have everything else taken care of. I got my bills paid. You know, I'd appreciate some gas money. You know, I'd appreciate some beer money. I don't want a fucking gift card to this restaurant that I'm never going to go to. You know what I mean? And then also the gift card doesn't pay the whole thing. Like you get a gift card to a restaurant, you still got to pay for the rest of it. And so when my grandparents and shit would give me gift cards, we don't want you to use the money on drugs. It's like, well, now I have to go to this stupid place to use this gift card and then waste my money on a place that I never wanted to waste my money with to begin with. And you know what I ended up doing with all these gift cards? I ended up throwing them away. I never fucking even used the goddamn gift cards. And so yeah, I kind of wish that I had all those fucking gift cards that they've given me on birthdays and Christmases and shit so that I could give them to these scammers. Like, oh, you're actually going to use the fucking thing? Dumbass. Here, you have it. Take it. I'm just going to throw it away. And that's all they do on the internet. I don't understand how somebody can just sit there for hours and hours and hours talking to total strangers on the other side of the world trying to get them to give them a gift card. You know what I mean? Like, it's really pathetic. I honestly feel sorry for them. It's like, oh, nobody's ever given you a gift card on Christmas. Poor fuck. I thought I had it bad by getting the gift card. But then these scammers, they take these gift cards. They only get half of the money at best. Because they take these gift cards and they sell the gift cards to companies or whatever that buy gift cards. And they give you half the money that's on the gift card. So here these motherfuckers are sitting around all day, every day, talking to strangers, stealing gift cards, and they only end up getting half the money. And so ever since scammers were even invented, because I remember when the internet came out and shit, I was born in 91. They used to have MySpace before Facebook. And MySpace was badass. You know, MySpace, you could make your own background. There was a fucking song that played when you went into your MySpace and shit. And you can... MySpace was badass. I fucking wish they'd bring MySpace back. And then they came out with Facebook. And even at the beginning of Facebook, I was like, this is stupid. You can't change your background. You can't put a song up. You're not allowed to say anything or do anything. Like, you're literally just on that Facebook making Mark Zuckerberg more money. And then MySpace pretty much went under. Nobody would use it. Everybody switched to Facebook because it was promoted. Like, oh, they pretty much told you Facebook is better than MySpace. And everybody's like, oh, I guess Facebook is better than MySpace. And so MySpace ended up going under. And that's pretty much what Mark Zuckerberg did. They say that Mark Zuckerberg stole Facebook from his friends. And, you know, that might be true. But actually, Facebook stole MySpace. And then the FBI stole Facebook. And that's what actually happened. They saw this MySpace going up, and they wanted to control it. And so they made a puppet, a fall guy, Mark Zuckerberg, to take the fall if anything goes wrong. And then they got complete control over the social media and shit. And that's how that social media shit ended up going. And there's still like social media outlets like Reddit or whatever, all those fucking anonymous groups and shit where you can actually fucking talk to each other. But you're doing it anonymously. And it's illegal just to be on it, kind of a thing, you know. And so I kind of seen the internet evolve into what it is from the 90s to now. And like most of the new generations, the millennials and shit like that, they have no idea what MySpace is. And they have no idea what the dark web is. They have no idea what YouTube is without commercials, and you don't have to pay for premium. You know what I mean? When YouTube first came out, they didn't have commercials. You just fucking went to YouTube and watched videos. Of course, they also didn't have movies and all that other shit either. It was really just stupid videos of people being stupid. I remember when YouTube first came out, they had beheadings on there. There were people getting their heads cut off on YouTube. People were getting curb stomped on YouTube. Like a curb stomp is when you smash somebody's face with your foot into a curb. It's called a curb stomp. And it was a big trend. People would curb stomp each other on fucking YouTube. And that was YouTube at the beginning. People literally hurting and killing each other on fucking YouTube. Nowadays, God for fucking bid you say something wrong on YouTube, you'll get your whole fucking account deleted. God forbid you say fuck on YouTube, you'll get your whole fucking account deleted. And so that was the internet before, back in the 90s and shit. The dark web was so easy to access and shit that it was basically like Google. I mean, back then, to access the dark web, literally all you needed to do was download the Thor or the Tor app or whatever it was, the program, and you can have full access to the dark web. Nowadays, to access the dark web, you have to go through all this fucking shit, and then you have to try and make yourself anonymous, which is completely fucking impossible unless you do this stupid shit. And even then, if you do access certain shit on the dark web, you're going to prison. No hesitation. You're going to be swarmed by feds. But back in the 90s and shit, the dark web was open to everybody. All you had to do was go to Tor.com or some shit like that, and there you go, dark web. And they had crazy shit on there. They still have crazy shit on the dark web. So, in the 90s and shit, the internet was completely different. And so nowadays, you're not allowed to do anything. Unless you have money, you're not allowed to say anything. And unless you have money, you're not going to be trending. So, like, for instance, I have over 6 albums of music that I have written and recorded completely by myself and published by myself. I'm a completely self-made artist. And here at 2024, I have over 6 albums published, and I'm already working on 3 other albums. Nobody hears about that shit. Nobody views it. Like, I made $300 the other month from it, which was fucking amazing. Usually I get like $60 or maybe $10 here and there. I made $300 the other day. I don't know how the hell that happened. I actually think it was my TikTok, because every time somebody scrolls past it, I get a fraction of a cent or something. So I've completely made all my TikToks using nothing but my music, so I can try and get $1 or $2 to buy some beer. But nobody hears about my music. And unless I dish out thousands of dollars to promoters and shit, nobody's ever going to hear about my music. And like this YouTube that I'm posting these podcasts on, the FYI VTV YouTube channel, there's no views on it. And I've actually had people contact me on my Facebook like, oh, I've seen your YouTube channel and nobody has any views on it. And like, you can pay me and I'll get it promoted. And, you know, like, there's one part of me where I'm like, well, this is a fucking scam. I'm not giving you a gift card. And then the other part of me, I'm like, well, why would I pay somebody to promote something that's already posted? Like, isn't that YouTube's job to promote their content, right? And then so I try to do self-promotion. And I try to post all my shit and share all my shit myself on, like, Facebook and Twitter and all that other shit. And people are like, oh, no self-promotion. No self-promotion. And so when these people contact me about promoting my shit, I'm kind of like, well, how the fuck do you do it? How do you promote my shit? Well, what they do is they're just paying Facebook and Twitter and YouTube to promote my shit. And so I could do it myself. And I'm actually thinking about making Roku commercials. So they got the Roku television and stuff, and I guess you can pay for commercials. I'm actually thinking about making a commercial, giving it to Roku, and putting that shit out there for my music to promote it. But it pisses me off that I have to micromanage and do everything myself. And nobody will ever do shit for anybody but themselves. And I have never accepted a fucking dollar from anybody for any of the shit that I've ever done. Like, for instance, I started making porn and shit, right? Like, you know, I got sexual abuse, I got fetishes, I got sexual issues and shit. And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to post it. I'm going to post me fucking myself and masturbating and shit. And it's kind of just gotten to the point where I just don't give a fuck anymore. And like, oh no, you'll burn in hell, Jesus can't save you, and oh, you look like a fag and shit and all that. But the thing is, I don't give a fuck. And I think the biggest part of me starting it on xhamster.com, it's Vinny VTVXhamster.com. I think the whole point of me starting it is because bitches be tripping. They're so fucking prude and they're such fucking teases that it pisses me off. I'm always fucking myself instead of fucking a bitch. Like, bitches are missing out. I don't know what's wrong with bitches. I can't keep my hands off myself. And you know, like, I go on dates. I fucking ask bitches out. And they shut me down. Oh, you're broken. You don't know what a relationship is. They're prudes. They're teases. And I have even talked to some of these e-girls and porn stars. Like, I've talked to Emma Hayes from kink.com and shit on Facebook. I actually figured she's like my favorite, so I studied her and I watched docs on her and shit. And I actually figured out her real name. And I forgot it on purpose. But I actually figured out her real name and I contacted her on Facebook. And I'm trying to talk to this whore, right? And I'm like, hey, baby, how you doing? How about you and me get married and shit? How about I give you a real life, make a woman out of you? And she just stonewalls me and shit. So I'm like, well then fuck you, bitch. Go fuck a bunch of dicks then. Go fuck everybody but me then. And she blocked me. And I was like, well, I kind of blew it there. I probably should have kept my cool a little bit longer, right? So I forgot her real name on purpose because I don't want to fucking do it no more. I don't want to deal with it no more. And I don't want to people harassing her either because I really do think she's awesome. But that's what pisses me off, and that was the real reason why I started posting that shit on xhamster and shit, is because bitches be fucking tripping. And it pisses me off. And so I'm on xhamster and shit, and I'm making these videos, and I'm editing them and shit. And xhamster is so fucking petty. So, like, I made this, fuck your money video. And the title was Fuck Your Money, the free whore for all. And they deleted your money from the title. So I said, fuck the free whore for all. And I'm like, that's fucking petty. And then I was also going to make that video the only video that you would have to pay for. Kind of like a sarcasm fucking, you know, fuck you kind of a thing. And I was burning a dollar bill at the end of the video and shit, right? And they won't even let that shit post. I don't know. No, they posted it, but they changed the title to just saying fuck. So instead of it saying fuck your money, it said fuck. And so I'm like, well, that's pretty fucking petty. You know what I mean? Like, I'm putting my nude fucking body on the internet for everybody to see. It's pretty fucking brave of me. You know what I mean? Been molested and gang day raped and human trafficked for over a month and shit. And here I am being naked on the internet and shit. You know, I'm seeing myself as fucking brave and shit to do this shit. And I've done it before, too. Like, I've had other fucking accounts with, like, Pornhub and shit where I'm trying to post this shit. And they just shut it down. The last time they shut my last xhamster down is because I was sharing my art on there. And I was like, well, this artwork has nudity on it because I draw, you know, the truth. Like, I'm drawing, like, human trafficking and all that shit, trying to bring awareness of it and shit. So I got cut up bodies and shit and titties cut off of the bitch and shit, you know what I mean? And that's my artwork. And I'm like trying to post it on Facebook. And like, oh no, that's nudity. You can't post that on here. So I thought, well, all right, I'll post my artwork on a fucking porn site. And then they can't bullshit with me about the nudity. Well, they just shut down the whole fucking account. I was like, oh, fuck, dude. So I made this new one and I'm starting to do videos and shit. And I'm like, okay, I won't post my art. You know, I won't fucking say anything. I'll just be silent and fuck myself online and shit. And try and show all these bitches what they're missing out on and shit, right? And all these prude teases and shit. And they're still fucking with me. And I had this other video, and it was a self-humiliation video. I mean, pretty much, there was words, humiliating words on the fucking video, and all I'm doing is jacking off and shit. And there's just like all these humiliating words popping up and shit. So it's like self-humiliation, and it's kind of a big thing, actually. They won't even let that post because they have such fucking big egos that they don't want me to even humiliate myself without like their permission and shit. You know what I mean? My haters are such fucking haters that they can't even stand for me to humiliate myself without their permission. And that's how fucking pathetic it gets. On Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and all these outlets and all this internet shit. It used to be where people were curb stomping each other 24/7 to this point where I'm not allowed to say anything. Like everything I post, I spend most of my time just writing memes. So I make these funny memes and then I post them. And then after a day, I delete them to keep my account from getting deleted. So all day I make these funny ass fucking memes saying fuck you, fuck the world and shit like that. By the way, you're living a lie kind of shit. And I post them and I give a day for everybody to see them. And then I immediately delete them to keep my account from getting deleted. And Facebook and TikTok and all this shit, they still nitpick. And they find the stupidest little nitpicking petty ass bullshit to delete my fucking accounts and shit. And here I am trying to promote myself. I got art, I got music, I'm fucking making porn and shit. I'm doing all this shit. I should be a fucking billionaire by now. With all the, I have a net worth that is over $100,000 last time I checked, and that was years ago. I'm doing all this shit, trying to promote myself. I'm doing all this work. You know what I mean? I should be a fucking billionaire by now because I'm doing it completely by myself. So there's no one else to fucking share the money with. But they don't want me to succeed in anything. They're so fucking petty that they don't even want me to succeed in humiliating myself. They want to humiliate me in front of everybody, but God for fucking bid, I humiliate myself. And that's why I do that shit. I go way out the box to try and prove to both my haters and all the people that listen to my haters how fucking pathetic and petty they are. And I do all this shit and nobody sees it. I'm completely invisible. And granted, I would rather not be famous and rich and shit. I hate money. Everybody knows how much I hate money. I think it's the stupidest fucking thing. I see it as a fucking pacifier for a baby. That's how I see money. I think of it as fucking childish. And everybody knows that. Like, if I ever got $1 million, I would put it in a fucking briefcase and set it on fire in front of everybody in the middle of Times Square. And that's why they won't let me have money. My mother steals most of my money. So the money that I get is from SSI, Social Security Income. I've been on it since 17 years old because I've been homeless since 16. So I've been using SSI to survive. Because when I turned 16, I said, fuck it, this broken home, I'm leaving. Lived in my car for a year. Found out winter hit. Found out, oh shit, I can't live in my car in the middle of Colorado. I'll freeze to death. I got to get a place. And I got on SSI. I went to the mental hospital, said, hey, yeah, I'm crazy as fuck. Give me some pills. And by the way, I'm homeless. Can you get me some shelter? I'm like, oh, yeah, we'll get you on SSI. Mom always takes credit for it. She takes credit for every success that I do get. My mom sets me up to fail. She's always trying to fucking screw me over and shit. She's always stealing my money and shit. And when I do succeed, she takes all the credit for it. She says that she set up SSI. No. All Health Mental Health Network set up SSI for me at 17 because I was living in my car at 16. And everybody's like, oh, you're a mama's boy. Your mama does everything for you and shit like that. No, she doesn't. She's always trying to get me locked up or killed or worse. Or both. And granted, my mom does stuff for me here and there. But the things that she does do for me, she does it publicly so that everybody sees that she's doing stuff for me. And she makes sure that she gets all the fucking praise for it. Like, for instance, she gets me this couch that I am sitting on right now, and it was like $10 at Goodwill. But she makes damn sure that everybody knows that she got me this couch. Or she helps me move and shit because I'm in jail because she got me locked up in the first place. She makes sure that everybody knows that she's the one that moved me into the new apartment and shit. When I could have been living in the old apartment if it wasn't for her calling the cops on me every 5 minutes for noise complaints and shit that I say on Facebook. You know, if she didn't call the cops on me, got me arrested in the first place, she wouldn't have to get me a new apartment. And also, if I wasn't locked up, I'd be able to get my own fucking apartment. You know what I mean? But All Health is really the ones that help me with all this stuff. So All Health has been helping me with all this stuff this whole time. Since 2020 hit, mental health system is collapsing. And they refuse to do anything for anybody. I mean, nobody will work. Nobody will do anything. Everybody goes to work and holds out their hand wanting the paycheck, and the second they get their paycheck, they leave. But nobody will actually do anything for anybody. They just want to collect the paychecks and go home. And that is how it has been since 2020. Everybody's refusing to work, but they still want to get paid. And that's how it is in the judicial system and the mental health system as well. So when I was going through all the shit that I was going through in 2020 and shit, you know, like most people were locked down in their houses. And I'm like, well, I've been locked in my fucking house my whole life. And most people were dealing with like, oh shit, the DMV's closed. I guess I'm just going to have to drive around without a license. Yeah. I was in jail in mental hospitals and shit from 2020 to like 2003. I was in jails and mental hospitals. And they were literally trying to kill me. They said to my face, I don't understand why you're still alive, Vinny. You should be dead by now. Why aren't you dead? They were mad at me for not dying. They gave me court-ordered monthly injections for over 6 months straight that I was allergic to. I was allergic to these injections, and they kept giving them to me. I was having seizures. I was having migraines, involuntary muscle spasms. My arms were waving around, and I couldn't do anything about it. My dick fucking hurt. I always had a boner, but I couldn't come. Like, it was fucking nuts. And they had to take me out of the jurisdiction of All Health, put me in a community reach center, just to get me off these injections that were killing me. And then they arrested me for that fucking BB gun. I was arrested on the 12th of August, 2021, for scaring my sister with a BB gun. And literally all I was trying to do, like, I got a new BB gun from Amazon in the mail, delivered on my doorstep. I'm like, oh, who can I show this off to? I don't have any friends. Oh, I know. My sister just got home from Vegas because she went on her 21st birthday to Vegas, and I wasn't invited. I'm like, oh, she's home. I could show it off to her boyfriend. He'd appreciate it. He likes throwing stars and shit like that. It'd be cool. We can go to the Walmart and shit, pick up a couple of pellets and some targets, shoot some pellets and some cans or something, smoke some weed, drink some beer, have a good time. I could get my mind off of all this stupid shit that's going on with me, and then I'll go home. Well, I walk in the garage. They see a BB gun. They think it's a real gun. Panic, run down the street, call 911. And I'm like, and I get in the car searching for them. Well, they went in the neighbor's house. So I couldn't find them. So I was like, fuck it, I'm going home then. They're being stupid. And they pulled me over and they put me in jail. Well, they tried to kill me in the fucking jail. They locked me down 24/7, butt-ass naked, eating nothing but Nutriloaf. In the hole. There was nothing but a fucking hole in the floor. They wouldn't even give me a blanket. For 2 years straight, I dealt with this shit. And they would come up to my doors and the window with my door and shit, like, Vernigello, we don't know why you're still alive. I'm like, you are trying to kill me. And they're like, yeah, we don't understand how you're still alive. We don't understand how you survived this. I'm like, well, I've survived a lot more than going to timeout. I've survived a lot worse than being in timeout. Like, you're gonna have to try a little bit fucking harder than putting me in fucking timeout to kill me, dude. And so and then I get out and I started posting all this shit on the internet, like the FYI VTV YouTube channel and shit. This channel has all the stuff that was happening to me on 2020. At least all the video footage, all the recordings that I managed to keep from getting deleted. Because my mom deletes shit too. She doesn't want me to have any of this shit either. She doesn't want me to get the cops in trouble either. She loves the police because the police lock me up. So whenever I get any kind of fucking leeway, anytime I start to take a step, either my mom or the cops or even family and friends sabotage me, fuck shit up. My haters on the internet fucking deleting shit and shit. And to see the fucking proof, all you have to do is look at any of my accounts. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. And you can easily see how they are just constantly fucking harassing me. Constantly fucking attacking me. They will not let me say anything. They won't let me speak. I'm not allowed to do or say anything. And the only reason my music is even published is because I paid CD Baby hundreds of dollars for each of those albums to be published. But they're not promoting it. Nobody realizes it fucking exists. It's completely censored, covered up. They don't want anybody to know that I'm alive. Because they know the second people start fucking looking into my shit, they're going to be like, this is nuts. This is fucking crazy. Look what they're doing to this guy. This is ridiculous. Not that anybody gives a fuck about me, but I have podcasts and artwork and music and all this shit. I should be a goddamn celebrity by now. But they censor me so fucking much. And they're so fucking petty about it. That it's like I'm invisible. And it pisses me off. Because literally all I'm doing with this music and this art and these accounts and shit, I'm trying to bring awareness. I'm trying to wake people up. Like, hey, by the way, everybody, you're all living a lie. We're all being human trafficked. We're all slaves. You know, the blacks keep talking about slavery 100 years ago. Well, we're all slaves now. We're all slaves of the almighty dollar. We're all working our asses off just to pay the rich. And everybody calls me a mooch and a leech on society. Go get a job, you bum. And it's like, well, I'm surviving. And barely surviving at that. I get $700 a month. You spend $700 in a minute. You know. And also, I still pay taxes. Everything I buy, there's a price tag and then there's the tax dollars. Everything I pay for. So I get these tax dollars and then I literally put the tax dollars back into the fucking tax dollars instantly. And I get a minuscule bite of food from it. And everybody else does that too. You pay taxes, but you all get tax refunds and tax returns. So after you guys pay your taxes, you get the taxes back. And if you guys filed your taxes properly, you would even get your taxes back with interest. I don't get a tax return. I don't get a tax refund. All my taxes are taken out of my pocket. Every one of my dollars goes directly into the government. The government is stealing from me. I'm not stealing from the government. The government is stealing from me. When I go to work, I work my ass off, and I do everybody's job for them. Not to get paid, just because I'm bored. I like to work. I'd rather do something than just sit around. So when I go to work, I'm actually there to work. I'm actually there to do something because I'm bored. But I'm not going to get a paycheck for it like everybody else is. Everybody else is sitting on their ass holding out their hand. I'm going around working my ass off and I'm not getting paid. I'm working for free. Slave labor. Slave labor. The definition of slave labor is to do work for no pay, for less than minimum wage or nothing. I don't get any money. All my money goes to the government or bills or my mom steals it. I don't get any of those paychecks. I make less money working my ass off than I do sitting on my ass. And so when everybody calls me a mooch and a leech on society, go get a job, you bum, I'm like, fuck you. You have no idea what you're talking about. Take a single step in my size 14 boots and tell me how easy it is. And when everybody calls me a fucking faggot, talks down on me, you're a bitch boy, you're a fat ass and all that shit, I'm just like, well, take a single step in my fucking 14 size shoes and tell me how fucking easy it is. I've been fucking molested, gang day raped, and human trafficked my whole life. The only sexual experience I have is sexual abuse. So when you call me a fucking faggot, it's more offensive to me than an actual fucking faggot. I'm not a fucking faggot, I'm a whore. And so it pisses me off. But when everybody talks to me this and they're constantly blabbing, their mouth is always open. Whether they're putting something in their mouth or putting something out of their mouth is always fucking open. It never fucking shuts. And I sit there quietly and silent because I'm not allowed to speak. When I speak the truth, and I'm not afraid to do it. When they speak, all they can say is how much of a bitch I am. When I speak, I say, I'm not a bitch. And they don't like that. Because that's the truth. And so I started these fucking podcasts and shit because I'm constantly blowing up, yelling and screaming at myself in my fucking apartment because I'm just so fucking pissed off with my fucking life. And I've been wanting to start a podcast for a long fucking time. But I started making this podcast recently. I think I have 3 podcasts posted right now. And each one is like 12 hours long. It's just literally just me sitting there talking. And I sit there and I talk to myself all the fucking time. And everybody's like, oh, he must be crazy. He's sitting there talking to himself. No, I'm just saying all the shit that I wasn't allowed to say my whole life. You know, when I'm out in the world, I'm not allowed to speak. When I'm on social media, I'm not allowed to speak. So when I'm talking to myself, I'm saying all the shit that I'm not allowed to say anywhere else. I mean, at the very least, I can lock myself in my apartment and talk to myself. I sure as hell can't talk to anybody else. God forbid I lock myself in my apartment and I talk to myself. And so I've been wanting to start a podcast like shit since my fucking mid-20s. But I never actually got into doing it. But then recently, I've been so fucking muted and censored and shit that I can't fucking stop talking to myself. I'm not allowed to talk to anybody else, but I can't stop talking when I'm locked up by myself and shit anymore. And so I started this podcast, and I really, I enjoy it. I highly recommend it for anybody. Just start a podcast. Just take your phone and just start recording yourself talking to yourself. And then just fucking post it on YouTube or SoundCloud or some shit. I highly recommend it to anybody. It's the best counseling you're ever going to get. If you ever go to a counseling session, all they're going to do is just interrupt you all the fucking time, change the subject, and ask how that makes you feel. Well, it makes me feel pretty shitty. I was kind of talking about something else, and you change the subject and ask me how that makes me feel. I'm just trying to release something. So I highly recommend doing a podcast. And I don't mean like a podcast with somebody else. Just do fucking radio talking. It's the best counseling, the best therapy you're ever going to get. And whether anybody listens to it or not really doesn't fucking matter. Just the fact that you said it out loud is relieving. You know what I mean? Like Joe Rogan, I fucking love his podcast. Like, Joe Rogan's fucking amazing. He's a badass. He's a goddamn genius. You know what I mean? But, I'm not saying that my podcasts are better, but I would rather say shit. I would rather do my podcast by myself. Because I honestly don't want to talk to people. People don't listen. I am a good listener. I've spent my whole life listening to people. And I think that's what makes me so smart. Is because I actually fucking listen to people. I find people with wisdom, and I actually want to hear their wisdom. And I actually listen to their wisdom. And I always take it with a grain of salt. You know, I always end up going back home just like, I don't think everything that guy said was true. You know what I mean? But I like to listen to people. I enjoy listening to people. What pisses me off, though, is when it's my turn to talk and they won't let me talk. And then that's when they also start blabbing and making shit up. Because they ran out of shit to say. It was my turn to talk, but they don't want to hear what I have to say. So that is the big reason why I started this podcast, is so I can finally talk, you know. Posting this shit on Facebook, I've done that too. I spelt the shit out. I would have books published by now. Like multiple books, not just novels either. I would have full books published of all the shit that has been deleted from my Facebook accounts. Like, if Facebook didn't delete all my accounts and fucking delete all my posts and completely shut down everything I fucking say, I would be a writer by now. I would be a fucking writer with books. And I have actually tried to write books. I started writing a book when I was younger, and it was going to be a book where Alice in Wonderland and The Wizard of Oz collide. And I was going to make it where Alice and Dorothy were actually sisters, and their father was the Wizard of Oz and shit. And I was writing a book like that. And I got a, you know, maybe a chapter. And then it just disappeared. And so I'm writing this book and shit. And it was a really cool book, too. You know, Alice is on her ship, and she's the captain, and she's going through a storm and shit. And all of a sudden, the Wonderland and the Wizard of Oz starts colliding into the real world and shit. And I was just starting to fucking get to the climax of that first chapter. And the book just disappeared. Because I was typing it out and printing it and shit, and it just disappeared. And I go to my mom, and I'm like, have you seen my book? She's like, what's a book you're writing? I'm like, yeah. I have like a chapter I'm writing. I'm trying to write a book. Do you know what happened to it? It was sitting on the desk. I don't know why I'd put it anywhere else. Oh, you must have lost it. And that's what she does. If I do anything successful, she deletes it immediately because she doesn't want me to be successful. She doesn't want me to have my own money. She doesn't want me to be out of her power. She wants me to be her little puppet. She wants full control over me. And she wants to be able to call the cops on me and get me arrested at any point in time. And when I'm locked up, she wants to be able to come into my apartment, go through all my shit, and decide what I am allowed and what I'm not allowed to have. And she's been doing this to me my whole 33 years. And that's why I moved out at 16. I couldn't take living in her basement. You know? And I'd rather live in my car than live in my mom's basement. I'd rather live in my car than live in that fucking broken home. You know what I mean? And ever since then, she has access to my bank accounts. Literally, all she has to do is say, "Oh, I'm his mother." I'm like, "Oh, well, right this way, Tamara. How much of his money do you want? Do you need a key to his apartment?" And so everybody's, all these people, they're like, "Oh, you should be more respectful to your mother." I'm like, I am highly fucking respectful to her. She's lucky I haven't killed her yet. And, you know, like, I'm not allowed to say anything. I'm not allowed to say anything this. But in my mind, when everybody's always talking this shit to me, in my mind, I'm thinking, like, fuck you. I'm nice as hell to her. Sure, I cuss her out every now and then, but it's not near as bad what she says to me. I've never laid my fucking hands on her like she's laid her hands on me. I've never stole her fucking money like she stole all of mine. Like, she's lucky I haven't fucking killed her yet. I'm highly fucking respectful to her. And then everybody says, oh, you're a bitch boy, you're a mama's boy, mama does everything for you. And I'm like, you live in mommy and daddy's basement. I have my own apartment in my name that I pay the bills for. You still live in mommy and daddy's basement, and you never paid a bill in your life. Like, where do you get the fucking audacity to call me a fucking mama's boy when I moved out at 16? And why should I respect the woman that's been trying to get me locked up and killed my whole life? Who literally put a knife to my throat at 6 years old to say, and as she says, stay away from my mother. And I'm like 6 years old. I'm like, Grandma? Stay away from Grandma? Why? Like, I'm playing Spyro. I don't really care whatever fucking craziness you're getting into right now. I'm trying to play Spyro, and you just got me killed in the game. So take this carving knife and put it back into the fucking drawer in the kitchen. I'm going to go play more Spyro. I'm like 6 years old. You know what I mean? She just busts in my room, put a knife in my throat. Stay away from my mother. And I'm like, Grandma? Can you get out of my room, please? I'm playing Spyro. Because I went to Grandma asking for help. I'm like, Grandma, Mom's going crazy. You got to help me. And I ended up going back home. And Mom just comes in my room with a carving knife, sticks it in my throat. You stay away from my mother. I'm like, this is why I went to Grandma. Because of this nut shit. This is the reason I went to Grandma. Because you're doing this crazy shit. But sure, I'll stay away from Grandma if you stay out of my room. I got to finish playing this Spyro fucking chapter. He's flying around and he won't go through the hoops. You know, so everybody's like, you should respect your mother more. I'm like, you're lucky. She's lucky I haven't killed her yet. You're a mama's boy. Your mommy does everything for you. No, I pay the bills. I moved out at 16. And like, granted, she does do stuff for me. She helps me out a lot with a lot of stuff. She makes sure she does all the paperwork. She does, God forbid I do my own paperwork. Because then I'd have power and control over my own shit. So God forbid that happen. But, you know, and she'll get me a couch from Goodwill and shit. But then she brags about it to everybody. Look at all the stuff I do for him. And he doesn't appreciate it. I'm just like, are you serious? So when everybody comes up to me with this shit, I'm mute. And that's why I tattooed it on my palm. It says on my left palm, I am mute. And that's why I tattooed that tattoo on my palm. Just, I am mute. I'm not allowed to speak. You guys are the only ones allowed to speak, not me. So whenever they start fucking, Vinny, why won't you say something, I'm mute, remember? I'm not allowed to talk, remember? And when I first tattooed this tattoo on my hand, I literally went mute. Like, I'm done talking. You guys don't want to fucking listen to me. And I literally stopped talking. And I did it for a day. A day. And nobody could fucking take it. Like, oh, Vinny, why won't you fucking say something? You're being weird. You're crazy. You need to go back to the hospital. Are you off your pills? And I'm like, I just raised my hand. I'm mute. Like, I'm done talking to you guys. And then I finally had to talk. I was like, all right. Because my mom's car broke down. And so I was trying to talk to my stepdad about getting it towed or something. Getting it fixed and shit, because you can't just leave it there. It'll get towed and shit. And it's mom's car, and it's her only car. And I finally had to speak. I'm like, all right. I'm talking again. Do this, do that. I'm trying to help everybody out and shit. So I was mute for a day. A good day. And it was a good day, too. I fucking loved it. I was going into stores and shit. I just raised my hand. I'm mute. And I'd write shit down and shit if I needed to tell him something. I was loving it. I loved being mute. I was like, oh, this is so much better. Like, I don't have to get in arguments with these idiots anymore. I don't have to talk to them anymore. This is awesome. I was fucking loving it. I was like, oh, I don't have to actually get in these fucking endless arguments with these idiots anymore. Oh, this is perfect. But it got to the point where, like, talk, Vinny, talk. And they went all fucking, I'm like, all right, fine, I'm not mute anymore. But it's still tattooed on my palm, and I still love this tattoo. And I keep tattooing it on my palm, too, because it keeps washing off. It's not easy to tattoo something on your palm. So I've tattooed this tattoo on my palm multiple times. And I love this tattoo because even though I'm not literally mute like I was that day, I can still just raise my hand just like I'm not talking to you. And the next time the fucking cops pull me over, I can just look at my palm just like, oh, reminder, plead the fifth. You know what I mean? You know, I can always just use this tattoo as just like, I'm mute. I don't have to talk to you. I plead the fifth. So I still love this tattoo. And there's a lot of meaning in this tattoo. And my friend, I'll just say Jeff. I'm not going to say his last name or nothing. He doesn't like that I tattooed. He feels bad about it. He's like, oh, man, you don't have to go mute, man. You can talk. You're allowed to talk. Jeff's a cool dude. I love Jeff. He's a really good guy. And he's really been helping me out lately and stuff like that. He's been giving me boomers and shit like that. I've been tripping and shit like that, and it's helped out a lot. And he's been really cool. We've hung out and stuff. And he didn't want me to go mute. He felt bad. He felt responsible because I kind of went mute with him one day. I was tripping with him and shit, and I kind of was just like, I don't want to talk anymore. I'm done trying to talk. And, you know, Jeff's kind of like, dude, you don't have to go mute, man. You're allowed to talk. You're more than welcome to speak. I want you to speak. He kept trying to speak to me. We were both tripping. He's like, please talk. I'm tripping balls right now. You're freaking me out by being all fucking silent and shit. He's like, dude, it's fine. You don't have to go mute and shit. And then I went home and I tattooed it on my palm. And he's like, oh, dude, why'd you have to do that? You don't have to go mute and shit. And I went mute for a day. But the tattoo means more than just that. You know? I mean, being mute means more than just that. I mean, when people actually go mute, it's because they're so fucking extremely traumatized that they just shut down their vocal cords. And, like, there's that one celebrity that's gone mute and shit. I forgot his name, but I saw a post on Facebook, so I don't even know if it's true, but I forgot his name. But he went mute because his vocal cords stopped working or something like that. So being mute's a pretty serious fucking thing. You know, when somebody's actually mute, I mean, you can obviously tell, like, oh shit, this motherfucker's gone through some serious shit. And when I went mute, I couldn't help it. Like, I literally was almost physically incapable of speaking. Like, I even opened my mouth to speak, and I'm just like, I don't want to. I can't. Don't want to talk about it. Well, then my stepdad kind of broke it by getting my mom's car towed and shit like that. And I've been doing this podcast and shit ever since. But I still love this tattoo. I am mute on my palm. I mean, I am still mute. Still not allowed to speak. I can't post anything on Facebook without the account being deleted. I can't post anything unless it's a song. And a lot of musicians and artists say the same thing. I remember Motorhead, the guy from Motorhead. He lives in an apartment. He's just an average Joe guy. And I remember a post on his Facebook where he says, I'm not allowed to post anything. I'm not allowed to say anything. I don't know if he posted on Facebook. I don't think he has a Facebook. But an interview or something, I remember the guy from Motorhead saying, "Yeah, I'm not allowed to say anything. Nobody wants to hear what I have to say, unless it's in a song. They don't want to hear it." And it's a pretty common thing with artists, because artists, in order to be an artist, you have to know the truth so that you can channel it into your art, whether it be music or paintings or poems or drawings or books. They're all artists. And you have to definitely be a different breed of people in order to be an artist. And nobody wants to hear what you have to say, because what you have to say is the truth. So unless there's some pretty music behind it, they don't want to hear it. Unless it's in a pretty drawing, they don't want to see it. Unless it's written down as a poem or in a book, they don't want to hear it. But I highly recommend they all do more interviews and podcasts and actually say this shit, because I know it's important. Us artists and musicians and shit, we have an important job to do to try and wake up the public. And that's kind of always been what it is artists and musicians trying to wake people up to the truth. Bring people into the reality. And like when people come up to me and say, Jesus is coming soon, Jesus is coming back. Well, God, I hope not. I think Jesus deserves better than us. You mean to tell me that this guy goes around trying to help everybody and shit his whole life, and he gets crucified for helping everybody his whole life and preaching the truth? He dies as a martyr on the cross. I hope he never comes back. He deserves better than us. And also, the guy's dead. He died a martyr. And the whole resurrection thing seems like a scapegoat, so that the motherfuckers who crucified him wouldn't get in trouble for it. The guy's dead, just like Martin Luther King. He's dead. And even if he did resurrect and magically went to heaven and shit, I hope he never comes back. He deserves better than us. And like, I've been baptized Christian, Catholic, Mormon. I've read the whole New Testament multiple fucking times. I've skimmed through the Old Testament. I've listened to the Book of Enoch on audiobook. I've watched documentaries about all the religions. You know what I mean? I've always been fascinated with religions. I've literally tried to physically join every religion, but I wasn't allowed to be Jewish. I wasn't allowed to be Muslim because I'm white, or I'm not Jewish, I'm a Gentile, or I'm an infidel. So I wasn't allowed in all the racial religions. But all the religions that I was allowed into, I would join. And I wanted to hear. I wanted to learn. I was like, what do you guys believe in? And after studying all these religions and shit, I realized it's all the same religion. You guys are all saying the exact same thing. That there's one true God and this Lord, and then all these prophets. So there's one God and one Lord and all these prophets. You guys just have different names for them. Like the Muslims call him Allah. The Jehovah's Witnesses call him Jehovah. The Sumerians called him Gilgamesh. But it's all the same dude. Just different cultures, different languages, and little subtle differences, and different names. But it's all the same guy. I mean, there's even a verse in the Bible where Jesus went to the well and talked to the Sumerian woman, and he's like, I am Gilgamesh. I am the Sumerian god. Jesus himself said, I'm the Sumerian god Gilgamesh. I'm the reincarnation of him. Because Gilgamesh was the Sumerian god of the Sumerian well that gave the Sumerians the well. And he was the god of reincarnation. And Jesus himself said, yeah, that's me, to the Sumerian woman. And that's written in the Bible, the Christian Bible. And Buddha himself, in Buddhism, Buddha said, I'm not the Lord. I'm just a prophet. Even I have a Lord above me and a God above that Lord. Muhammad said the same thing. I'm not the Lord. I'm just a prophet. I have a Lord above me and a God above that Lord. So all these prophets are saying the exact same thing. And so everybody believes in this exact same religion. Just little subtle differences in different languages and different cultures. That's the only differences. So all these wars over religion and shit, it starts to turn into a race war. And that's all any of it ever was just racism. My God's better than your God because he's a different color. He's the same God, just a different name and a different color. Because my God can't be white because I'm brown. And your God can't be white because you're black. And the white man's God, well, nobody wants a white God except the white man. And the white man doesn't want a black God or a brown God. So it had nothing to do with fighting over whose God was better. It had everything to do with whose skin color was better. And that's all any of that ever was. Is the way I see it. It's a theory of mine. I'm not telling you it's scientifical and shit. We're speaking religion in the first place. It's a theory of mine. Take it with a grain of salt. Believe whatever the fuck you want. Freedom of religion. Could not give less of a fuck. But also, I got to remind you, we're talking about religion, and there's no actual facts about it to begin with. So. But everybody blames the devil for everything. In all the religions, they always have a devil, a bad guy. And they blame this devil for everything. He's not the... And when you go into the satanic religions and shit, they call him Satan, Lucifer, Beelzebub. And Beelzebub is a bee demon. And he's the leader of the hive mind. And Lucifer is the morning star. He's light. And Satan is snake and reptilian and shit like that. And so in his name, it says a reptilian, light-bringing leader of a hive mind. You know what I mean? But even when you get into the satanic cultures and shit like that, they talk about Balthazar, the scapegoat. And Balthazar is a guy with a goat's legs, a human man's body, or even a woman's torso, and then a goat head. And Balthazar is the whole point of Balthazar is he's the scapegoat. He's the one that everybody blames, but he's actually not responsible for any of it. The scapegoat. And they talk about the black sheep and the black goat and how they're excluded from society and shit and talked down upon, and they're blamed for everything, and they're used as a scapegoat. And that's kind of like the whole satanic religion and shit. And when I talk to Satanists and shit, they get all fucking pissed off. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I'm like, I've studied Satanism just as much as I've studied any other religion. And you guys believe in the same shit as the Christians. Just like the Muslims believe in the same shit as the Christians. Just like the Hindus believe in the same shit as the Christians. And that's what pisses everybody off. Because the Christianity is the dominant religion. So all the other religions aren't as dominant as Christianity, so they hate Christianity. But it's the same fucking thing. In the Satan religion and shit, they say that Satan was the original God, and he was dethroned and replaced by a false god. But it's the same thing that's said in Christianity. God threw Satan in hell for challenging his throne. Right? All the religions, they say the same thing. But then you also got to start thinking, I've never seen this giant red fire-breathing dragon going around forcing people to do shit. I've never seen this guy. I've never seen this long-haired hippie with holes in his hands going around saving people. I've never met this almighty God that freed the Jews from Egypt and shit. They're not here. Like it says in the Book of Demons, that was actually helped written by Jesus. One of the books of the Apocrypha, one of the hidden books of the Apocrypha. It was like the Book of Demons was deleted out of the Apocrypha. So the Apocrypha was deleted out of the Bible. The Book of Demons was deleted out of the fucking Apocrypha. They got rid of the Book of Demons so much that they deleted it out of the deleted Bibles books. But Jesus worked with the Sumerians to create the Book of Demons in order to fight demons. And the Satanists call it the Necronomicon, the Book of Demons, and all that stuff. And it was literally a book that studied demonology. And it was supposed to help people learn what demons are and how to fight them and shit like that. Well, of course, nobody wants that, right? But it said in the Book of Demons, the demons themselves said that hell was simply the absence of God. That's literally all hell was. It was just the absence of God. It was just a place where there was no God. And then the children of God came and made hell so much worse. And it says that in the Book of Demons. Hell was simply the absence of God, and then God's children came. And so, if you want to think about the definition, the biblical definition of hell, we're in hell because there's no God here. We all worship this God and stuff, but he's not here. We all worship this Jesus character, but he's not here. We all blame this satanic Satan red dragon character, but he's not here. So we have a scapegoat that isn't even fucking present. Satan made me do it. Well, where is he? Did he put a gun to your head and make you do it? That wouldn't hold up in court. If you fucking murder somebody and say, oh, well, Satan made me do it. Well, you're still going to prison because you still did it. Whether Satan popped up out of nowhere and appeared and put a gun to your head and said, kill that guy, doesn't matter. You still killed the dude. And also, we didn't see anybody else there, so you're still going to prison. In fact, you might go to the fucking mental hospital. And I just find it fucking crazy how everybody's always blaming this devil character, this Satan character. Satan made me do it. It's Satan's fault, the devil's fault, when he's not here. Satan didn't make you do that. You did that. Oh, well, Jesus will come save me. I hope not. Maybe Jesus deserves better than you. Oh, well, God made me. Well, God's not here anymore. He's gone, if you haven't noticed. Santa Claus isn't real, and I learned that when I was a kid. You know, I learned when I was a kid that the Easter Bunny isn't real. It's just my mom chewing up carrots and spitting them on the floor and then having to clean them up later. The Tooth Fairy isn't real. It's just my mom sneaking in my bedroom and putting a dollar bill on my pillow. You know, I'm not saying that God's not real. You know, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He's the Lord of lords and King of kings. He's my Lord. You know, I serve my Lord. I'm not saying that he's not real. I'm just saying he's definitely not here right now. So I don't know why you expect to blame everything on them. Blame shit on people that aren't here. It's never going to hold up in court. I don't understand why it holds up in the world. Yeah, I'm not saying that Jesus wasn't real. He was obviously a real dude. There was obviously a hippie guy going around doing the same shit that Martin Luther King did. Doing the same shit that Gandhi did. There was obviously a martyr in the olden days. There was obviously this guy named, and Jesus wasn't even his real name. Jesus means Savior and Christ means sacrifice. You can't name somebody Savior Sacrifice. It's not a real name. The government wouldn't even legally allow you to call somebody Savior Sacrifice as their legal name. So it's obviously not his real name, right? And I learned from the documentaries and shit. His real name is Yeshua ben Hur, Elijah, the people of Elohim, Jesus of Nazareth, the Savior of Nazareth, Christ of Galilee, the sacrifice of Galilee, because he was killed on the Mountain of Skulls in Galilee. The Lord of Lords and King of Kings of Bethlehem, because he was born in Bethlehem. So that's his real name. So when everybody's going around, in the name of Jesus, well, that's not his name. In the name of Jesus, the demons be gone. Well, I don't think that would work on the demons because it's not his name. Right? So everybody's preaching Jesus Christ this and Jesus Christ that. And it's like, well, it's not even his name. And he was obviously a real dude. You know, just like all these Greek mythologies and shit. They're talking about all these gods and stuff. Zeus and Odin and Kratos and Kronos. And the Norse gods of Loki. And they were all real people. And they weren't gods. They were just people. They were kings. They weren't gods. They were kings. They just called them gods at the time. And it's been so long since they lived that they've turned into mythology. Which is going to be the same thing that happens with Christianity 100 years from now. And then they're going to have some other fucking religion. And it's probably going to be a religion of Martin Luther King and the Founding Fathers or some shit. They're probably going to make a religion of the people that lived now. In the future. And then even further in the future, it's going to be mythology as if they didn't fucking exist anymore. Because that's what happens with everybody. Sooner or later, you don't even fucking exist anymore. We don't remember the first fucking people. Like, you go back to Adam and Eve and shit like that. Adam and Eve wasn't even the only people on the earth. It talks in the Bible all the time about how Adam and Eve had to deal with other people. So there's obviously, we're never going to be able to remember the first people that existed on this planet. This is over an 8 billion year old planet as of 2012, and I've actually calculated it myself. I did the math and shit one day, just fucking went all crazy doing math and shit, and I started calculating the number 2012. I was like, what does this fucking 2012 mean? I was pissed off about it too. I was like, what the fuck does this 2012 mean? Well, 2012 is when the Earth did a full circle around the galaxy. The Milky Way galaxy. And I've learned all this shit from watching documentaries and shit. So the Earth did a full circle around the galaxy. So when the Earth does a full circle around the sun and shit, that becomes months and years and shit. But when our solar system does a full circle around the galaxy, that's what 2012 was. We did a full circle. And every circle is like a certain billion years or something. So I started adding 2012 and shit. I started adding all these other dates together and shit. And I started figuring out, oh shit, this planet is over 8 billion years old, give or take, at 2012. And the human race is over 4 billion years old as of 2012. Give or take a number or two. Because I started adding the BC numbers and the AD numbers and shit. And I started adding all the dates and shit with 2012. And I kept coming up with 8 billion and 4 billion. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? And I start watching documentaries and shit. And they're like, oh yeah, the planet's 8 billion years old. So it would have taken like 1 billion years for the planet to form and create life and shit. So that was the first 1 billion years. And then the next 1 billion years was dinosaurs and shit. And then the monkeys came along. For 4 billion years, the human race has existed on this planet. And it has evolved into what we are today. And so this is a 4 billion year old Earth species on an 8 billion year old planet as of 2012. And that's what the Mayans were trying to tell us. And that's what I've learned from documentaries and shit of it, and also doing the calculations. And I literally wrote the shit on the walls. It was like fucking Einstein. I looked like a fucking lunatic. And then after I was done, the walls were covered in numbers and shit. I was like, oh shit, I'm going to be in trouble for this. How am I going to paint all this? And I actually had the actual number It was like 8 billion, 1 trillion fucking blah, blah, blah number. It was an actual fucking number. And I did that back in 2012, so I don't have the actual fucking number anymore. But it was over 8 billion years old planet, 4 billion year old human species. So we've been here half the time this planet's been here. But we're never going to remember the names of the first people here. There were even people before Adam and Eve. It says in the Bible that there were even people before Adam and Eve. And there were also other people other than just Adam and Eve. And there's also studies that say that Adam and Eve just wasn't one guy and one woman. There were the Eves, the women, and the Adams, the men. And so it was a group of people. It was a family. The Addams family. But there were people before them, and there were also other people other than just them. It was kind of just like a tribe that would keep records of themselves and pass it down through generations. And that's where the Israelite family originated from. But they talked about it all the time. There were always other people that they had to deal with. They're like, oh shit, we're going to have to go over to that town, get some food and shit for Cain and Abel. And then Cain is the Canaanite descendants and shit like that. There are descendants of Cain. There's descendants that wear the mark of Cain and shit like that. The Canaanites and all that shit. The murderers. And so it's groups of people. They're not just talking about two people. They're talking about a whole fucking group of people. And that's what I've learned from watching documentaries and talking to... And I go into the churches and the temples and all that shit, and I talk to all of them, and then they make it all mythology and shit. They make it all fucking imagination land, fucking pretty unicorns and flying red dragons breathing fire and shit. But then you go into the scientifical knowledge of all of it, where they look at the DNA of the people that live now, and they trace it back to these Adams and Eves and stuff. And you look at the scientifical parts of all of it and shit, and you start to realize, oh shit, maybe this isn't all just butterflies and unicorns. Maybe there's a little bit more to it. And so, it just makes me angry that we've been here for 4 billion years, and we're doing the exact same shit that we were doing 4 billion years ago. And it never works. We raise these empires, and they collapse, and then we just put them right back up again. And it doesn't fucking work. And every time one of these empires collapses, the surroundings turns into desert. So like Australia, it's a theory of mine that Australia is the actual Atlantis. And it's the first desert. After Atlantis fell, it turned into desert. Egypt fell, it turned into desert. And when England and all that shit falls, it's going to turn into desert. When America falls and shit, it's all just going to turn into desert. And it says it in the Bible too. It says it in the book of Enoch. It says it in the Bhagavad Gita. That one day the planet's just going to turn into a desert planet, just like Mars. And so then when you start to get in the extraterrestrial stuff of everything, because extraterrestrials aren't real. We're special, beautiful, unique little snowflakes. The sun revolves around us. We don't revolve around the sun. The planet's flat. And the whole universe revolves around us because we are special, beautiful, unique little snowflakes, even though nobody gives a fuck about us. So extraterrestrials don't fucking exist, okay? Nothing exists other than us. But when you start to get in the extraterrestrial and space aspect of it, there's a little planet out there. There's a little red planet out there. It's called Mars. And Mars means planet of war. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's not real, of course, because the planet's flat. Planet Earth is flat, so it's not real. But in the imagination land of science And NASA, there's a planet out there in our solar system called Mars, and we originated from there. We originally did this same exact shit that we're doing here on Mars, and look what happened to Mars. And when you get into the religious texts and shit like that, you start to see, oh shit, we have just been going from planet to planet to planet, doing this exact same shit, setting planets on fire one planet at a time. And if you look at an aspect of health, if there is something in your body that is setting your cells on fire, and it's just moving from cell to cell, eating the cells, you call it a cancer. So the medical term for the human race is cancer, because we're just going from planet to planet and setting them on fire. So when you start to look at it like an adult, you start to realize like, oh, Santa Claus isn't real. Saint Nick, the Irish guy Saint Nick, he was a real dude. But Santa Claus, the mythological version of him, of Saint Nick, isn't a real guy. There's not a guy in a red suit going down the chimney giving me presents. Saint Nick is dead. Saint Nick died a long time ago. He was a real dude. Drove off the snakes in Ireland or whatever like that. I don't know the fucking specifics of it. But Saint Nick, he was a real dude. He actually went around giving kids toys and shit and helping his people and shit and got the tyrannical government out of there. But then he died, and they started calling him Santa Claus. But Santa Claus isn't real. Saint Nick is real. And you can do the same thing with Greek mythology. Like my favorite is Kratos. Not Kronos. Kronos is the father of all gods, and he ate his children. And then there was Zeus, who killed Kronos. And then there's Kratos, the god of war. And you play the little God of War video games, and you learn all about Kratos, the one who killed the Greeks and turned it all into mythology. It was the fall of Greece. But that guy was a real guy. Zeus was a real dude. Kronos was an actual person. They weren't actually gods. They were just really powerful families like we have today. And you do the same thing with the Norse religion. The Norse religion is mythology. It's not real. They never actually existed. It was just pretty fairy tales. But if you look at Loki, Loki was a real person. His name was Vlad Dracula the Impaler from Transylvania. His original castle and his original family was in Transylvania at that Dracula castle. The dude's a real guy. And then after the people raided his castle, killed his family, and him and his soldiers escaped, came back, impaled all the people who raided his castle and left their impaled bodies around the castle, and then him and the remaining soldiers that survived all of it and shit went to Russia, which would be the Norse place. So the Norse and the Vikings and shit, they lived in the Russia area. So Loki, Dracula, Vlad, the Impaler, went from Transylvania, and then he went to Russia to get away from all that shit and live out his life. Well, he went to Russia, the Viking place, Norse, and had to deal with all that shit. Because the Vikings had the Norse religions and shit. There was Odin. Odin was just like Kratos in Greece. Odin was the father of all the Norse gods, and he ate his children so that his children wouldn't rise up and take his throne. So he'd have children and he'd eat them. And then one day, Thor, the god of thunder, like Zeus, the god of lightning, killed Kronos Odin and became the new god. And then this Kratos character and this Loki character killed them. And then the religion turned into mythology. But they were actual people. And you can actually find Vlad Dracula the Impaler's grave in Russia. And there's a big bust and a big old head of what he looked like. And the Mayans called him the White Devil, the White Bat, because he was a white man, and he would always wear that Viking helmet with the horns on it so that he would look like the devil. It was a war tactic to try and intimidate your enemy. If you scare your enemy, you have power over them. So he would come up looking like the devil, and the Mayans called him the White Bat, the White Devil. Because he would go to the Mayans and shit, and steal all their gold, just like everybody else did. Go to England, sell all the gold, get the goods that you actually need to survive, sugar, rum, fucking bread, and yeast, and all that shit, and then go home. It was kind of like grocery shopping for them. Go to the America and the Mexico and shit, steal all their gold and food and women and children and shit. Go to England, sell it all, and then go back to the Norse place or the whatever place that you are, and you got food for a month. So it was like grocery shopping with them. They'd go rape and pillage the Americans and shit, take all their shit, go to England and sell it. Go get all the fucking food that they need to survive for the next fucking month or year or whatever. And that's what the Vikings did. That's what the pirates did. You know, Blackbeard and shit. And those were our original founding fathers. You know, like we hear in school and shit that our founding fathers was George Washington and Abraham Lincoln and Benjamin Franklin and shit. But actually, they weren't our founding fathers. Our original founding fathers was fucking Blackbeard and the Pirate Queen and all that shit. Those were our real founding fathers because they were the actual people that knew about this place before any of those other motherfuckers from England even knew about this place, even came here. So the pirates and the Vikings and all that shit, they were the original founding fathers. They were the original discoverers of America. They're like, oh, there's a bunch of red-skinned people over here that have a bunch of food and gold. And we can just take all their food and gold and shit because all they got is bow and arrows and shit, and we've got swords and shit. So we can just take all their food and gold and shit, go to England, sell it, sell a couple of those red-skinned people to them too, and then we can get the shit that we actually need, the rum. The yeast, the bread, the food, the salt. And like people always think like, oh, there's pirate booty. There's pirate treasure in them waters. There's pirate treasure on them islands. But I always thought it was funny because pirates never gave a fuck about gold and silver. Whenever the pirates would find a ship and manage to take it over and shit, they would toss the gold and silver into the fucking water because that gold and silver was just extra weight, and it would mess up the weight on their ships and make their ships, you know, too heavy, and the waves would push them over and then sink their fucking ship because they have too much weight on their ship. So they would always take all that gold and silver and shit. They just toss that shit in the ocean, just like this useless fucking rocks. What are we supposed to do with this shit? And what they would actually want is the rum. Where's the rum? Fuck your shiny rocks. Where's the rum? You want to know what I think of your shiny rocks? Into the sea with it. Where's the rum? That's what I'm looking for. If you ain't got no rum, I'm sending you to Davy Jones' locker with this ship. That has nothing but these shiny fucking rocks that nobody gives a fuck about. Because you couldn't take this gold and silver and just fucking use it. This gold and silver was made in England. It has the England print on it and shit. There's nothing you can do with it. You can't exactly go to America with English gold and silver and buy anything. Like the Native Americans would be like, oh, it's a really cool shiny rock. What do you want me to do with it? Like the Mayans and the Indians and shit, they used gold and silver as decoration. They would build a sculpture and then they'd cover it in gold. And also, gold and silver is so fucking worthless. It's useless. And it's not rare either. There's nothing rare about it. It's not rare. 80% of the world's gold and silver and diamonds and jewels and shit hasn't even been mined yet. If we manage to mine all the gold and silver and jewels and diamonds of the world, everybody would realize, like, oh shit, this isn't valuable at all. You can't do anything with it, first of all. And second of all, it's not rare. The majority of the planet is this shit. And it's also useless. You can't do anything with it. Pure gold, like if you go to, here in Colorado, if you go to like the mountains and shit, they have these little bottles of pure gold, 24 karat gold. And it's like a piece of tinfoil. And that's what real pure gold is. It's tinfoil. To find gold, you have to get a rock that contains gold in it. And then you have to extract all the fucking gold out of that rock by purifying it and transferring it through fire and shit and extracting all those other metals from it. And you end up with this piece of tinfoil. And it's just a shiny gold piece of tinfoil. And that's all you get. Sometimes you can get a nugget or something. But you can't do anything with it. It's so flimsy. And even to keep it polished and shiny, you have to keep polishing it. And you have to keep shining it. And you have to maintain it. So, like, every one of the capitals in America, the top of it is covered in gold. And every single year, you have to replace the gold on top of those capitals. Otherwise, it starts to turn green and it starts to rust and shit. And it starts to ruin the whole building. So unless you replace the gold on top of all the capitals, and there's capital in every state in America that has gold on the top of it. And unless you replace that gold every year and maintain it, the whole building will fucking collapse. Because you start to lose the fucking roof, it's going to start messing up the foundations and the walls and shit, and the whole fucking building will collapse. So if civilization fell, and those capitals were still there and shit, the first thing to go would be the golden roofs. And then the walls and the foundation would start to crumble. And the next thing you know, that fucking thing, the capital would be gone before the rest of the fucking buildings. Because the roof was fucking made out of gold. Like, the best thing you can do with gold, like, it reflects sun and space pretty well. But there's better metals and materials that you can use that work better than that. And they use gold in computers and stuff a lot for wiring and shit. But they still have better materials than gold and silver to conduct electricity and shit. Like, they found out that the crystals that are completely useless would be a better memory storage than our mainframes that we have and shit. You can store all this memory in these crystals. So we could actually have a crystal sitting on our desk instead of these brains, and it would store more memory, and it would take less electricity to run it and shit. So gold and silver is completely useless. And they've been trying so hard to find a use for it. Like, it's not valuable. We can't use it for money. You know, you have to maintain it just to keep it shiny. Otherwise, it turns green and starts rusting and shit. And the best thing we can find to do with it is make wiring out of it, and we still have better metals for that. But, and diamonds too. Like, what's the best thing you can do with a diamond? You can cut glass with it. And that's all it's used for. Like, if you go to Africa, the beaches of Africa, the beaches are covered in these black rocks. It's a handful of black rocks. It's coal. That's what diamonds are made out of. They're made out of coal. So the beaches of Africa are covered in diamonds. And they'll be fenced off and shit. They don't want people stealing them. But you get this giant lump of coal, and it was down deep in the earth with the tectonic plates and shit. It was under extreme pressures and shit for thousands and thousands of years. And you get this giant lump of coal, and you chip away at it, and you chip away at it, and you chip away at it, and you end up with this tiny little itty bitty diamond. And even when you end up with this tiny little itty bitty diamond, you got to cut up the diamond to make it shiny. Because the diamond's not shiny unless you cut it in a certain way. And you end up with this little itty bitty shiny rock. And the best thing you can do with it is cut glass. It's the only use for it. Diamonds are more useful than gold and silver, actually. But it's still not very useless. It's still pretty useless. There's still other shit that cuts glass better than diamonds. You know, lasers, for one thing. And the same thing goes with jewels. I don't even think jewels can cut glass. So jewels are like the red fucking diamonds and all that other shit. I don't even think they're hard enough to cut glass. They're just shiny in different colors. They might be hard enough to cut glass, I'm not sure. So all these monetary-based systems that we've had this whole time, silver, gold, and jewels and diamonds, they're worthless. And the only people that they were worth anything to were the English and the kings and the queens and shit. And the only reason they liked them was because they're shiny and pretty. So they'd give you food and rum and shit for these shiny rocks. Because they like to put them in their houses and look at them because they're shiny and they're pretty. So they were only valuable to the English. The pirates could not give less of a fuck about jewels and gold and silver. So all these people that are going out there looking for pirate treasure and shit, the only thing you're going to find is rum and salt. And it'd be so fucking old, it'd be useless. Because that was pirate treasure. Rum, salt, bread, food, water. Because they're out on the ocean 24/7 their whole life. And that's all they need. They could not give less of a fuck about these heavy fucking shiny rocks that are just going to make their ships unbuoyant. So I just think that it's funny how people believe the lies and they just live their whole lives under these lies. But if anybody would just do a little bit of studying, watch a documentary. And everybody always talks shit to me too. Like, Vinny, why are you always just watching documentaries? I'm like, because it's interesting. It's telling me the truth. All you guys do is lie to me all day. This thing's telling me the truth. Oh, it's not the truth. They can't prove any of that. Well, that's why they call it a documentary. Because they have proof. Scientifical, hold up in court proof. Reality. That's why I watch them. Meanwhile, you guys are talking about flying red dragons that are doing all the fucking evil in the world and a dead guy that's going to come back and save us all. This documentary is telling me it's all bullshit. And it makes a lot more sense that it's all bullshit. Because I don't believe in Santa Claus anymore. And so when I watch like the Zeitgeist, the 3 Zeitgeist movies, and I watch all these documentaries and shit, I became wiser. So everybody else is going to school where they're saying, Columbus discovered America in the 1600s. Oh, he did? What a great guy. Well, the documentary said, no, actually the pirates and the Vikings discovered America, and they actually didn't discover America. They just enslaved all the people that already lived here, sold them to England and shit, ended up dominating this land and shit, stealing it from the Redskins. But no, you know, so, and that's why I never passed school. Because I would go to school and shit, and I went to high school for 10 years. They just kept holding me back and holding me back. And I'm like, can I please just have my diploma so I can go get a job? I got bills to pay. You know, I was like 21 years old sitting in high school. I'm like, what the fuck am I still doing here? I need to go to work. I got fucking bills to pay. Like the teacher's like, oh, Columbus discovered America in the 1600s. I'm like, teacher, what? What, Vinny? I got an eviction notice today. What do I do? I don't give a fuck about Columbus. He's dead. It was a long time ago. I have eviction notice today. What the fuck do I do? Go to the principal's office. You're right. Maybe the principal will know what to do with this fucking eviction notice, because I've never had an eviction notice before. So I'm in high school with these kids and shit. I'm like, I'm old enough to buy beer. What am I doing here? Columbus discovered America in the 1600s. No, he didn't. He got lost. He didn't even know where the fuck he was. And so they'd give me these written tests. And first of all, I'm severely dyslexic. And everybody's like, no, you're not. There's no such thing as severely dyslexic. And I'm like, well, that's not what the doctors said, but whatever. That's not what the people that diagnosed me with this said. But, you know, you're the one that went to high school. I don't know. You must know more than me. But when you're severely dyslexic, like this computer screen right here, I think, yeah, you guys can see this because I'm recording it. This is what dyslexia looks like. So when you're reading a book and you see these matrix things right here, this is reading a book to a dyslexic. You're like, what the fuck does this say? It said, fuck, it went away. This is how it is to read when you're dyslexic. Because the letters dance around and shit. You look at a word and it says the, and the next time you look at the same word, it says they. And you're like, oh, fuck, I misread it. And it's hard for you to spell and shit. Because the English language is so goddamn stupid. Same fucking word means multiple different things. What the fuck? So this is what it's like being a dyslexic your whole life. You're looking at a book and you're like, what the fuck does this say? Is this in a different language or something? But when you tell people like, oh no, there's no such thing as dyslexia. You're right. I should ask Jesus and Satan about it. It must be demonic. I must be possessed by a demon. That's why I can't read. There's no such thing as dyslexia. You're not dyslexic. You can read. You can read. What does that stop sign say? Well, if it's a stop sign, he's assuming that it says stop. See, you can read. Yeah, you're right. I guess I can read. But when I'm looking at a fucking book, there's a whole chapter of this matrix shit right here. And you're just like, I don't know what the fuck it says. I'm not a computer. I can't do computer code. I'm not a coder, dude. I'm not a hacker. I don't know what this says. But then people, oh, you can read. You're not dyslexic. You're right, I'm just retarded. Just like Einstein. But I'd be going to these schools and shit, and I'm sitting in these classes. Like, granted, most of the time I'm at work or sitting at home smoking weed because I don't want to deal with it and shit. Or I'm at fucking Pickens Technical College to become an electrician so I can get a real job one day. Or I'm in my apartment fucking trying to pay bills or something. So admittedly, no, I didn't show up every single fucking day so I can listen to them tell me about how Columbus discovered America. But I think 10 years is long enough. Like, that motherfucker graduated in 2 years. But they would give me these written tests and stuff. And I'm like, I can't read this. I don't know what the fuck it says. And also, the stuff that I can read from it isn't true. It's a giant test of lies. And so they would fail me and shit. I'm like, why'd I fail? You didn't answer the questions right. Well, the questions weren't right. You were asking me 2 plus 2 equals 5 when 2 plus 2 equals 4. 2 plus 2 does equals 5. No, 1, 2, 3, 4. See? No, 2 plus 2 equals 5, and you said 4, and that's why you failed. And I'm like, well, then fuck you. Columbus didn't discover America. Shut up. You're an idiot, and fuck your F. And so that's why I'd fail all the written tests. Because 1, they're made out of lies. 2, I can't fucking read the thing anyway. Looks like a bunch of computer code to me. And 3, they didn't want me to graduate in the first place. Like, god damn, could you imagine this guy with power? Could you imagine this guy in a career? He'd ruin us all. He'll get us all killed. We got to make sure he fails. So even when I went to Pickens Technical College to become an electrician and shit, they would tell me, like, okay, we want you to hang a light fixture in the ceiling. And I would do it as quickly as possible because I'm like, I got to get this over with so I can go to work. because I was working Subway and construction at the same time. So I worked construction during the summer and I worked Subway during the winter. So I was working Subway and going to high school and going to college all at the same time when I was 16 living in my car. And so I'm at Pickens Technical College and they're like, hang this light fixture in the wall, in the ceiling. And I do it. I'm like, oh, you did a good job. And I'm like, okay, great. Can I go? Because I got to go to work. Yeah, you can leave early because you finished early. Great. Nice light bulb. I got to go make some money so I can pay for gas so I don't freeze tonight. But they kicked me out. So I got electrocuted in the I think I might have said all this stuff in one of the other podcasts, but I don't know. I like these podcasts. I actually get to speak. But it just, everybody else is living in the American dream. And honestly, I'm jealous of them. I'm envious of them. I wish that I had a wife and kids and a home to live in and go home to and a career to pay for all of it and a nice car to get to your job and a nice suit to wear and some money in my pocket. You know, it looks fun. And they're constantly complaining about it like, oh, my wife's a bitch. Oh, my kids are brats. Oh, my house isn't big enough. I only got a 2-car garage and 3 vehicles. I got nowhere to park my sports car. And so they're always complaining to me like, damn it, I didn't make enough money to buy a new car this year. Like, bummer, I have to take the bus. And I got a 2-car garage and 3 vehicles. My life is hard. Yeah, I gotta take the bus. My wife's a bitch. Yeah, I sleep alone. My kids are brats. I wouldn't know. Oh, my job is so hard. Well, at least it's not fast food or construction. What do? I sit behind a computer all day. That's awesome. No, it sucks. My boss is an asshole. I would rather have a boss than a manager. And so when people fucking complain to me about their shit and shit, I don't say anything. I'm not going to start a fight with them. I'm not going to get in an argument with them because they're always going to win. I'm always wrong. Everything's my fault, and everybody knows that. And I'm not allowed to speak, and I choose not to speak. Because if I did, oh, fuck you, Vinny. You asshole. I know I'm an asshole. I learned from the best. But they're always complaining like, oh, my wife's a bitch. She looks pretty hot. I'd do her. My kids are assholes. I wish I had some. My house isn't big enough. My apartment's really small. I wanted a new car this year, but I couldn't afford it for my career. I take the bus to Subway. I make sandwiches for people. But I'm jealous. I'm envious of them. I wish I had that. And I went to school and I worked hard for it, and they wouldn't let me have it. I even tried to go to war. I signed up for the Marine Corps. They said I was too stupid and crazy to go to war. Oh, you got mental illness. Yeah. Oh, well. Oh, and you ain't got an education. Well, yeah, they kicked me out. Multiple times. I tried to get the GED, but after $1,000 and failing it so many times, I was like, fuck it, I don't have any more money. Oh, well, we can't take you to war. You can't go to war. You're too stupid and crazy to go to war. I thought you wanted stupid and crazy people out there. What kind of a sane person would kill people? What kind of a smart, sane person would go around killing people? I thought that's what you wanted, was crazy dumbasses to go out there and kill people. Oh, no, you're too stupid and crazy to go to war. Well, fuck you too, then. And I went to high school for 10 years, and I'm 21 years old. I'm in the principal's office. They're like, we're going to have to expel you. I'm like, okay. Well, did I graduate? No, you didn't show up enough. Didn't show up. Been here for 10 years. A motherfucker graduated in too. I should be a doctor by now. Well, maybe you can go get your DD. These are dicks. I remember when I was 21, I was like, you guys do know that you're fucking me here. Like, I'm never going to be able to get a job. I'm like, I got bills to pay. I can't work construction. That shit's too hard. I can't keep up with those Mexicans. Those Mexicans work too hard. I can't keep up with them. I can't do construction, man. That shit is hard. This shit's not easy. I can't do that shit my whole life. And fast food sucks. Like, it's not as bad as construction, but it sucks. I don't want to do that either. And it doesn't pay enough. Like, I need a real job. You need to give me this diploma so I can go get a real job. Nah, you didn't show up enough. All right. Well, I'm going to go try and get a job so I can pay for my apartment. Thanks for telling me all about Columbus discovering America. It was very helpful. I'm so glad I know that Columbus discovered America. That's really going to help me get my job at Subway. Could you imagine filling out an application? Columbus discovered America, you know. What does Columbus have to do with Subway? I don't know. That's what the school told me. They said that's all I needed to know. Also, 2 + 2 = 5. You're hired. Yeah, so, yeah, when everybody else was going to school and shit, learning about Columbus, I was most likely, well, either at work or in my apartment or at home or something, watching documentaries and smoking weed. And I was actually learning shit. So while they were at school getting brainwashed and becoming stupider and stupider by the second, I was at home smoking weed, watching documentaries, and I was actually getting smarter than everybody. And everybody hated me for it, too. They're like, why is he so smart? I go home and smoke weed and watch documentaries, dude. That's why I'm so smart. I study. While you guys were learning about Columbus, I was learning about the pirates and the Vikings. That's why they hated me. That's why they still hate me today. They're like, he knows something that we don't know. Yeah, you're all living in a lie. And weed was still illegal when I was a kid. And so when they slowly legalized weed and shit, I kind of saw the whole transition and shit. It was really cool. And like, Colorado was like the first state to legalize it and shit. No, it wasn't. Colorado wasn't the first state to legalize it. Oh, what state was? Yeah, it was Colorado. And weed is more legal than tobacco now. It's fucking baffling. Smoke a joint anywhere, but God forbid you light up a cigarette outside even. People look down on me like, oh, you smoke a cigarette? You are disgusting. You're an animal. You monster. Don't you know about secondhand smoke? As they light their joint up. And I'm like, okay. But tobacco used to be the same thing as weed before they fucking legalized it and shit. All these cancers and all that shit, it's all the shit that they add to tobacco. Tobacco doesn't have nicotine in it. There's no nicotine in tobacco. If you take a tobacco plant seed, plant it, grow it, you'll get these giant tobacco leaves. You grind them up or roll them up or whatever. They don't have nicotine in it. The tobacco companies add nicotine to the tobacco to make it addicting so that they can keep their customers coming back for more. Like Colombian cigars and shit. They're like pure tobacco. They're illegal here in America because they don't want anybody to know, oh, tobacco can actually get you high. And it's actually good for you. As long as the preservatives and the chemicals and the nicotine and the fire retardant papers isn't in it, it's actually good for you and it can get you kind of high. They don't want anybody to know that Colombian cigars are good for you and they get you high. God forbid. That would ruin the cancer companies. Nobody smoked tobacco from America. Nobody'd get cancer. And all the cancer companies would go out of business. Not good. A lot of rich people would go broke. Not good. And the same thing goes with oil. Oil is like the big company, the JP Morgan and shit. But they've had cars this whole time that don't need oil. We could be driving around 24/7 and never have to refuel. The only thing we needed oil for since the beginning of vehicles was lubrication for the gears and shit. That was the only reason we'd ever need oil, is lubrication for the gears and shit. The first cars were wind-up cars. You would just wind it up, and you'd drive around for a little while. It was like a steampunk car. It was all just gears. It didn't go very fast, but it got you around. Everybody was driving them. And then if your car stopped, you just like, damn it, and you'd get out and you'd wind it back out, just like, damn it, gotta wind this fucker up again. And then you drive around for a little while again. But this is why everybody hates me. This is why I got so many haters and shit. Because I know something that they don't, and I also do a lot of cool shit. Like my music, I love it. Like nobody listens to it. It's not on the radio, but I listen to my music all the fucking time. It's good shit. My artwork, I fucking love it. It makes me feel comfortable to have my artwork around me. And like it's horrible art. Like not bad art, but the shit that I draw is horrible. I'm always drawing people getting cut up and shit. And it's trying to bring the awareness of human trafficking and shit, the shit that they do to us underground and out of sight. Cutting people's arms off and selling them online and shit to the rich. So that's usually my art. But I'm not allowed to post that shit online. You can't post that. That's nudity. Why? Because her tits are out? She's getting her arm cut off. Who gives a fuck about her tits right now? Her arm's getting sawed off. Well, there's nudity. Okay, well, then I'll put it in a photo editor, and I'll put X's over her nipples. Is that better? Yeah, that's better. Thank you. Thank you for covering up her nipples as she got her arms cut off. You're welcome, buddy. It's what I do. I'm a pleaser. I'm a people pleaser. I like to help people. Yeah, cover up her nipples when you cut her arms off. Nobody wants to see those nipples. Yeah, when you're beheading people, make sure that they're not nude, and then it's okay. And that was another reason why I drew this shit. Because it's art. So there's not actually any victim involved. So it's not illegal. It's just art. And so you can show people the shit that's happening to people without it being illegal. Because if you take a beheading video and you post that shit, you're going to prison. Where did you get this video that's just violent crime? They're getting their head cut off. But if it's an artwork, there's no victim. There's no crime. So that's another reason why I drew that shit. Is a way to try and bring awareness about the shit that's going on. Without them bullshitting with me about how illegal it is. And it's like, no shit, it's illegal. Why don't you stop it from happening? Your damn Skippy is fucking illegal. It's not okay to cut people's limbs off and take their heads off and shit. You should probably put a stop to the people doing it. Like, no fucking shit, it's illegal. But then you post the shit. Oh, there's nudity. You're worried about the nudity. Fuck her head getting cut off. Just cover up her nipples and it's okay. And Facebook has gotten a lot better. Since 2020, Facebook stopped deleting my accounts for some reason. Not that they don't fuck with me still. They're still fucking with me constantly. They are still nitpicking and trying to find every reason possible to shut down my Facebook account. But in 2020, before 2020, Facebook shut down my Facebook account, my Twitter's account, my YouTube accounts, all my social media accounts. They would get shut down every 6 months. Every 6 months, all my accounts would get shut down. I would get arrested and sent to either a mental hospital or a jail. My mom would come in and delete all my pictures and stuff that she didn't want me to have, and go through all my shit and decide what I am and what I'm not allowed to have, and then move all my shit to a new apartment, and that's the excuse why shit got lost. And then I'd be back on the fucking streets and shit. Every 6 months I had to move. Every 6 months I got arrested. Every 6 months my social media got shut down. And they didn't just shut down one account. They shut them all down. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all that shit. Every account, everything that had Vinny VTV on it, shut down, deleted, never existed. All that work that I did, all those videos that I made and edited, and I spent hours putting them together, all the artwork that I make, and I spend all that time posting all that shit, writing all this shit down, spelling it out for these motherfuckers, one letter at a time. And then, oh, you misspelled that. Your grammar's not correct. And I'm like, I'm not a fucking English teacher. I'm severely dyslexic. Well, you didn't spell that right. You're a dumbass. So because I didn't spell that one word right, you're not going to read any of what I just said. So how I spell check shit, I have to go to Google and put in one word at a time. And then I got to Google that word. And then I got to find the actual grammar that's supposed to be there and the spelling for it. And I still don't know periods and fucking quotations and all that little shit either. I just fucking spell it out for them as best as I can. I'm severely fucking dyslexic here. I'm writing a book on Facebook, trying to talk to you guys. I'm spelling it out for you, spell checking the shit on Google one word at a time for you, and then it gets deleted every 6 months. And so I'm doing all this work while I'm also going to work, while I'm also paying bills, while I'm also struggling to survive. You know, human traffickers and shit trying to kill me, cops harassing me as I'm going to work, paying bills. I'm also on the internet and social media trying to tell everybody how stupid they all are and how much better everything would be if they just opened their fucking eyes for a second. And they just delete all that work. Like, I made a reverse brainwashing VTV. I called it reverse brainwashing. So television and the commercials are literally there to brainwash you. It's subliminal messages and all that shit. Hollywood, the movies, the TV shows, the commercials. It's all brainwashing you in what to think and how to believe. And I actually made a reverse brainwashing videos. And I would make videos that would last all day. So I literally had my own television station. So I would take bits and pieces of music videos, because I loved the whole MTV thing with before all the what it is now. How there was music videos and Beavis and Butthead and shit. So that was my main basis, was music video and Beavis and Butthead. And instead of commercials, I would have little clips of movies, like my favorite clips of movies. and TV shows and shit. When somebody says something that I agree with in one of these movies and TV shows, I'm like, yeah, that's fucking right. I would take that little clip and I'd make that the commercial. And so I made these reverse brainwashing. And they were actually very entertaining. I actually put them on my PlayStation and I'd put them on the TV and shit at parties and shit. And everybody would be like, this is cool. It's like MTV. I'm like, nah, this is VTV. But most of it is music videos and little clips of Beavis and Butthead. But instead of commercials, they're little clips of movies. And I called it reverse brainwashing. All those videos ended up getting deleted. And I was never able to upload any of it to the internet because it was all copyright. So every time I tried to... So I would spend days and weeks and months creating these reverse brainwashing videos. And these are like 12-hour long videos of music videos and clips and shit. So I would illegally download all these movies and all these TV shows and all these music videos and all these clips and shit. And I would splice them up myself in a video editor. And I would make a 12 long, 24-hour long, no, 12 long. So it'd be a 12-hour long video. Because I wanted a 24-hour video, but it was too much memory and space and shit. Not even the computer could keep up. And that's how television is. So there is somebody in television that does that shit. Now they got artificial intelligence that does all the shit for them. They just say, oh, do this at this time, and it'll do it. But in the beginning of television and shit, they were splicing all this shit together. So they had teams of people that put these videos together and shit and put in the commercials and shit. And that's what I did myself. I made my own fucking television station. And I wanted to upload it to YouTube. And at the time, that was the only video outlet, really. There were other video outlets, but they were so unpopular that nobody would have ever seen them and shit. And then when I tried to upload this shit, well, it's all copyright. So I wasn't able to upload it. And then it ended up getting deleted from my computer and shit because it was taking up so much space, so I had to delete it. And I would try and make copies of it on my PlayStations, and they were like PlayStation 2s and shit, so that I could plug them into my TV. And that was my television. When everybody else was watching TV with commercials and shit, I was watching VTV. And I would put it on a loop, so it would play all day. And it's the same thing that television does. They get 12-hour clips of videos, and they just put it on a loop. And every 12 hours, it just starts over. And then the next day, they just put a new video out. And they do that every day for the week. And then the next week starts, they just start the first video all over again. And that's all television is. And so I made VTV my own television. And it was reverse brainwashing. Instead of commercials telling you to go out there and make like NSYNC and buy, it was video clips of saying, this is bullshit, we're living in a lie. You know, movie clips and shit of like Fight Club and fucking 12 Monkeys and, you know, my favorite shit. And then there'd be music videos for the entertainment and shit. So you'd have like a couple minutes of little movie clips as your commercials, but most of it'd be music videos, just like MTV. So it was entertaining. It was cool. And that's what I watched all day, every day, was my own fucking television. And they're all gone now. And I've actually thought of making another VTV, but I'm still like, well, there's no way I'm going to ever be able to fucking upload it. Everything's copyright. So I put all that work and effort into making another one. Also, it's not as easy to download shit illegally anymore. You know, they don't exactly have LimeWire anymore, because that's how they did it back in the 90s and shit. You could download anything for free on LimeWire.com or Tor or whatever. So I was downloading all this shit for free. And I got a new computer now. This is Abby. This computer that I'm using here. This is Abby. I named her Abby. So all that shit's gone. I don't have any of those videos anymore. I don't have any of those movies anymore. I have no way of starting all that shit over. And I'm definitely not going to pay for all of it. It'd be thousands and thousands of dollars that I don't have. I live on $700 a month. I don't have thousands and thousands of dollars to spend on a VTV that I'm not going to even be able to show anybody. But it was cool. And I worked really fucking hard on that shit too. And nobody ever actually saw it. The only people that actually saw that shit were people that came and visited me. I'd turn it on. They're like, whoa, what is this? I'm like, it's VTV. And then I'd play it at parties and shit if I brought my PlayStation and shit. And I'd be like, oh, this is pretty cool. It's like MTV. No, it's not MTV. It's VTV. So I do all this work. And I should be a fucking billionaire by now. 6 albums published in 2024. And I'm already working on 3 other ones. Over hundreds and hundreds of pictures that I've drawn. This podcast. The books that I write. But the thing is, I can't share it with anybody. And I didn't even want to publish my music. I originally wanted my music to be royalty-free public domain. But there was so much legal shit and money needed to make shit public domain and royalty-free at the time that I was just like, fuck it, I'm just going to put it with CD Baby. And even to this day, I think, like, CD Baby gets shut down. All that music is fucked. And I'd have to put my music up with something else. And it'd be a whole fucking rigmarole. And I would not be surprised that all of my fucking haters and enemies and cops and fucking all this shit would shut down CD Baby just to fuck me over. And so, CD Baby, I mean, fucking good luck to you. You got all my enemies after you. And I don't have a single bad word to say about CD Baby. So cdbaby.com is an online record label. And pretty much you give them like $100 for an album. To publish an album. Or a podcast. You can publish a podcast too. And they publish it on everything. And everybody's always telling me, oh, they got other stuff other than just CD Baby and it's better. Like, why don't you use SoundCloud? I'm like, SoundCloud doesn't make you money. It doesn't publish it. They can still shut it down. And the whole reason I went to CD Baby is so that they couldn't delete my music. And also so that there was a way for people to listen to it. And, like, CD Baby makes me feel like a rock star. I mean, for me to say that I got 6 albums published on iTunes and all that shit for you to buy and shit, makes me feel like a rock star. So I fucking love CD Baby. And the only problem I have with CD Baby is there's no promotion. They don't promote your shit. And also the customer service is absolute shit. Because I got haters in cdbaby.com. I got haters working in cdbaby.com. So every time I try to publish a new album, I have to argue with them and argue with them and argue with them through emails. The only way to talk to them is through emails. So you got to go to cdbaby.com, you got to go through customer service, and then you got to go through the AI and say, no, AI, you can't help me, let me speak to a person. And then you finally get to email somebody, hey, I'm trying to publish this album, and you guys are giving me bullshit like the album cover is too blurry. I'm like, fuck the album cover. I don't give a fuck about the album cover. That's why the Beatles made the White Album. Because their record label gave them the same bullshit about their publishing records and shit. That's why they made the White Album, because they're like, fuck the album cover. It's not about the album cover. It's about the music. And so CD Baby, and I love CD Baby, don't get me wrong, but that's one of the problems that I have with CD Baby. Every time I try to do something with them, I have to argue with them and argue with them and argue with them. And then I say, give me a manager, let me talk to a manager. And they give me a fake manager, a person that says that he's the manager, but he's not an actual manager. And I say, well, let me talk to another manager. Let me talk to your superior. Sooner or later, I finally get in touch with a manager, and the manager finally fucking publishes my shit. And I always have to give them a bunch of other shit. I'm like, I also want you to do this. I also want you to do this. And you're not doing this for me, and you're not doing this for me. So I give them a list of shit that I actually would appreciate if they would fucking help me and do it. But I know that they ain't gonna. But I give them a list of shit like, you're not doing all this other shit for me. I gave you money for service. Either give me the service or give me back money. and also give me back my music. And then that's when the manager's like, oh, fuck, well, we don't want that to happen. There's no way for us to give you your money and your music back. And so they're like, all right, we'll publish this new album. And it finally gets published. Like, for instance, I have 2 artist names. That's one of the things that pisses me off with CD Baby. And I remember when I made the second artist name, and they're like, are you sure you want to make another artist name? I was like, no, I'd rather just add Tyler, my middle name. Like, well, you're going to have to make a second artist name in order to have Vinny Tyler Vernagello. And I'm like, well, because I posted my first song under Vinny Vernagello. And, you know, I was young and shit. And I was like, Vinny Vernagello, that's cool, like Jimi Hendrix and shit. But then I got older, and I'm like, well, I want my middle name Tyler in there, too, so that people know and understand what VTV is. It's my initials. Vincente Tyler Vernagello, VTV. And then you can put your middle fingers up and you make a VTV symbol. Because people keep asking me, like, what does VTV mean? I'm like, it's my initials. So I wanted to put Tyler, my middle name, into my artist name. Well, I had to argue with CD Baby about that. They're like, well, you can't just change your artist name. I'm like, why? Well, because our mouth is full of jizz, and we love to suck on cock, so you can't just change your artist name. And I'm like, well, what does sucking cock and mouths full of jizz have to do with my artist name? Well, we also like to stick it up our ass, and so you can't change your artist name. Well, I don't really understand what sticking shit up your ass has anything to do with my music, but, okay, whatever. I'll make a second artist name. Okay. Yeah, 'cause we're also really fucking stupid and retarded. I can see that. So I made a second artist name, Vinny Tyler Vernagello. And so I have these 2 different artist names. And I keep coming back to CD Baby. Every time I publish something, I'm like, by the way, there's 2 artist names, and you guys just need to make it Vinny Tyler Vernagello. You're confusing people. People can't find my music. Well, we can't change anything once it's published because we like cock. And I'm like, all right. We like dick and balls on our chins. I understand that. But I don't understand what that has to do with my music. And that's literally the discussions that I have with them about this shit, too. Because I have haters everywhere I go. The cops, the workers, no matter what I do, no matter where I go, I have haters trying to set me up to fail, trying to keep me from succeeding, trying to fuck me over, trying to get me locked up or killed. Because they don't want me to succeed in anything. They don't want anybody to know I exist because they know they're fucked, you know. So even in CD Baby, the only people that work with me are the managers. And that's the only people I can work with because the managers are the only ones that actually do anything. And I love CD Baby. I got nothing wrong with CD Baby. I just don't appreciate their customer service. But yeah, I got 2 artist names and my Sorry You're Snobby album. So I have the Sorry You're Snobby album, and it's the album that has my drawing that I made. I made a drawing in high school of Jimi Hendrix, and that's the album cover of the Sorry You're Snobby album. And the Sorry You're Snobby album is the first album that I wrote, and I wrote Sorry You're Snobby album back when I was a teenager. Like, I was like 14, 12, 13 when I wrote the Sorry You're Snobby album. And I remember writing the Sorry You're Snobby album, and I remember practicing each one of those songs every single day so that I wouldn't forget the song until I could finally get some kind of a recorder to record the song. So every day I played those songs, and I would play the whole Sorry You're Snobby album every single day so that I wouldn't forget it. And then I finally got a recording system to record my music. So I finally recorded the Sorry You're Snobby album when I was maybe like mid-teens. And I haven't I didn't get to publish the Sorry You're Snobby album with CD Baby until late 2000s. But I originally had all my music on my YouTube so that I would always have a copy of it. Like other people use Facebook and shit to send shit out. I usually use Facebook to save my photos as a backup. So even if it gets deleted on my computer and my backups and stuff, I still have a copy of all my photos on Facebook. So every time they deleted my fucking Facebook, I would lose copies of shit. And I would also keep copies of everything of my music and shit on YouTube and SoundCloud and shit like that, so that I would always have a copy of it, even if the shit got deleted off my computers and shit. But they kept deleting my accounts. And so I would have to make multiple accounts. I would have to make accounts in different names. I would have to make fake accounts and shit. And I would always have to have multiple accounts for everything that I'm doing. Because if they shut one down, I'll still have others that have my shit saved. And my highest priority was my music. My highest priority was trying to keep my music from being deleted. And in order to do that, I would have to download it to SoundCloud with multiple different accounts and YouTube with multiple different accounts and shit. And I would even make some of the shit private so that nobody even knew that the shit was there, so that they wouldn't find it and delete it. Well, I originally posted all my music on my YouTube channel, Vinny Tyler Vernigello. And CD Baby actually protects that YouTube channel too. It's my CD Baby YouTube channel. So I can actually post copyright shit on there and stuff and get away with it. And nobody can delete any of it. You know? Like, unless I did something stupid, like downloaded a porno or something like that on YouTube, on that YouTube channel, they can't fucking delete it. They'd probably not even be able to delete the account after that. So that's why I use that account for nothing but my music. And I use this FYI VTV channel for all the other shit. And I also have accounts for game streaming. And I have to make multiple game streaming accounts too, because they try to shut that shit down too. And that's also why they stopped shutting my shit down as much. Because they started realizing, like, oh fuck, this guy's got 50 accounts. Like, it doesn't fucking matter how many times we shut his account down. He's just gonna make a new one. And he has 50 other ones out there. And so I think that's why Facebook kind of calmed down with it, with deleting my account every 6 months. Because, yeah, like a little bit before 2020, I was like, I'm sick of my accounts being deleted. So I just started making accounts. And I'd buy burner phones and shit to make new accounts. And I would make multiple fucking accounts on everything. I'm like, well, if they're just going to keep shutting down my fucking accounts, I'm just going to make a shitload of them, and then they can't fucking shut them all down. I made fake accounts. I made all that shit. Pretty much all the shit that the trollers were doing and shit, and all the scammers doing shit like that. I was doing that not so that I could troll people, not so that I could scam people, just so I could have a fucking account. And I wasn't the only person that was doing that shit at the time, too. Other people was doing the same thing. There was a whole bunch of people at that time. We're like, we're sick of you guys shutting our fucking accounts down. So there was a whole bunch of people that was making multiple accounts. And it would literally be the same name over and over again. The same name and the same picture over and over again. Multiple accounts of it. So I wasn't the only one doing it. But I was doing it and then posting my art and posting my music and posting my shit so that I would have copies of it and backups on the cloud and shit. Because I don't got money to pay for a fucking cloud. And also, I have so much shit that a cloud wouldn't be able to store it all anyway. So I'm posting shit on the internet just so I can have copies of it. Well, when I posted my music on my YouTube, I had an intro on my YouTube. So every time you'd click on a video of my YouTube, it'd be like, welcome to VGV. And I had that intro on every single one of my videos. Well, I'm trying to publish the Sorry You're Snobby album with CD Baby. And they're bullshitting with me. And I'm uploading it and re-uploading it. And, oh, the album cover is blurry, so we're going to delete all your songs and make you re-upload the whole thing. I'm like, well, if you have a problem with the album cover, then why are you deleting my songs and making me re-upload them over and over again? Just bullshit. Run around, pass the buck, jump through some hoops. You know, just complete bullshit. Like, oh, we just don't really feel like publishing it right now. And it's like, I've given you hundreds of dollars to publish this album. Either do it or give me my money back. And that's when the managers get involved. And that's when they're finally like, okay, just publish the fucking thing. But that's another thing CD Baby does. If you have one thing wrong with your album that you're trying to publish, they'll just delete the whole fucking thing and make you start over. And you can't just take an MP3 version of your song and upload it to CD Baby. No, you have to go online and you have to convert your song into a different version of music so that you can upload it with CD Baby so that they can upload it to the internet. Even though it ends up MP3, MP4 anyway. They have to, I don't even remember. I have to relearn how to do it every time I publish an album too. I have to go, oh fuck, that's right, that you gotta do this. And I have to go on the Google, I have to find a fucking sound converter, an illegal online sound converter, because I'm not going to fucking pay for a sound converter just so I can upload this shit. So I have to find an illegal online sound converter, convert the fucking song, one song at a time, to this dumbass conversion, and then upload it to CD Baby, one song at a time, and then upload the album cover that I want, and then send it in to them. And then I have to wait weeks for them to review it and to see if it's okay. And then they come back to me and they're like, the album cover's blurry. So we're just going to delete everything you did with us and make you redo it all. I'm like, well, why don't you just make me upload the album cover? Why you got to make me redo all the fucking songs too? Oh, it's because we like dick in the ass. Yeah. See who gives a fuck. And so, yeah, I have to do this with them for months to get these albums published. And I have to argue with them until I get a hold of a manager. And then I have to threaten the manager, give me my music and my money back. And they're like, oh, we can't. We have no ability of doing that. And so they finally upload the fucking album. Well, the Sorry You're Snobby album, I had to illegally download all my YouTube videos from my YouTube channel because for some reason my copies got deleted from my computer. So I had to illegally download all my fucking shit from YouTube. And then I had to take it from the video and convert it into just the sound. And then I had to convert the sound from MP3, MP4 to whatever fucking conversion CD Baby wants. And then I had to give CD Baby each of those songs one at a time. But I forgot to take out the intro on each one of those songs. So each one of those songs says, welcome to VGV. And it fucking ruined the album. Because every song has that intro. Like usually they might have an intro on an album as the first song. And then the rest of the songs are just, Well, I accidentally downloaded the YouTube versions, the music video versions of my songs with the intro. And I keep telling CD Baby, like, I don't want the intro on every single song. They're like, oh, well, there's nothing we could do about that. I'm like, whatever. And so every time I publish something, they're like, well, the album cover's blurry. I'm like, well, I've got two artist names. The best album that I have, the Sorry You're Snobby album, is fucked because it has an intro on every song. And you guys keep arguing with me about the fucking album cover, which I could not give less of a fuck about. And so that's the fight that I have every time I publish an album. Like, I published all my new shit in 2020. I published all of it. It was all paid for. It was all ready to go. And then I got arrested. And some of it got published. Like the Other Day album, the Horror King album, Sorry Snobby album, and a couple in the Vinnie Vernigello artist got published. But there were still albums that weren't being published while I was sitting in jail, because I wasn't sitting in front of my computer arguing with them about publishing shit that I already paid for a year ago. So I get out of jail, and I'm so pissed off. I'm like, dude, it's been 2-3 years, and you still haven't published this album. And I'm like, all these albums should have been published by now. And so I'm arguing with them, and I'm like, what the fuck? I gave you this money to put my shit on the internet. Do it. I was pissed that time. And it was the live album. The Double Duchess's live album on Vinnie Vernigello and the R.I.P. album, which are really important to me. Like the live album, like that, it's like one of the most important fucking albums for any artist is the live album. And then the R.I.P. album, because it's my dead people that I wrote songs about and shit. So this is like personal fucking shit. I'm like, why the fuck is it taking you so long to publish these 2 albums? It's been 3 years. Oh, the album covers were blurry. I'm about to take these album covers and shove them down your throat. Fuck the album cover. Publish the music. But this is the same fight that every artist and musician has to have with their record label. And CD Baby isn't even a record label. It's just an online producer. Like, pretty much all they're doing is taking my shit and posting it on YouTube and SoundCloud and iTunes for me so that I can make money from it. And they are also giving me legal and stuff. Like, they give me a lot of legal help, copyright and all that shit, making sure that they're taking care of me legally so that they can get their money. And I love CD Baby. Like, don't get me wrong. CD Baby is the best out there. I highly recommend it for anybody. All of my friends that use CD Baby are going further than all of my friends that aren't using CD Baby. So there's a lot of my friends that are like, oh, there's other stuff other than CD Baby. But you got to pay monthly for that shit. You have to pay every month to publish your music and shit out there. And the second you stop paying, your shit's fucked. CD Baby is a one-time fee. You give them $100 up front. They publish your shit. You never have to pay them again. In fact, they pay you and give you royalty checks. And I have still yet to been able to find a better online record label than CD Baby. And, you know, a bunch of my friends are like, oh, no, there's other stuff. No, CD Baby is the best out there that I've found. And the friends that do listen to me like, oh, yeah, CD Baby's great. They have their shit published. They are getting royalty checks for their music. Their shit is on iTunes and shit. And my friends that don't listen to me about CD Baby, they're not getting any royalty checks. Their music's not being listened to. They're never going to be able to get anywhere. Because they're fighting the process and shit, you know? And I've looked for other record labels and online shit, and supposedly there's free ones out there and shit too. But I would rather pay them, because then I can say, hey, if you're not doing your job, I want my fucking money back. You know what I mean? If I did the shit free with something else, I wouldn't be able to hold that against them. Like, hey, fuck, I paid you, give me my shit. But, yeah, I love CD Baby, though. I just hate the fucking customer service. That is literally the only problem I have with CD Baby, is their customer service is shit. Because nobody wants to work. Um, yeah, I got 6 albums published. I'm working on the Friendly Unified Police Department album right now. I came up with the whole idea of the FUPD album when I was in jail for this BB gun shit. And so pretty much I was like, fuck this. I'm going to make an album saying fuck the police. Not just one song, but a whole album of fuck the police. And I want to make this album a 30-song album. You know, like a double 3-disc album of just nothing but songs saying fuck the police, how and why. And I was also wanting to collaborate with other artists on the FUPD album and actually get other people to rap and sing and play on the FUPD album. But I've never been able to work with anybody in the music wise because nobody that I've been able to, none of my friends or anybody that I can find, none of them are serious about music. And I've heard people tell me, like, oh, why don't you help other people make music? I've tried, but nobody is serious enough to practice and to do gigs and to come to the recording studio and to sit down for hours and fuck with it. Nobody has the patience and shit like that. The best way I've found to collaborate with people is online, where they do their own shit in their own computer with their own equipment, and they send it to me, and I do my own shit with my own equipment, and we put it together, and when we both come to an agreement, like, yeah, that's a good song, post it, you know, that's the best way I've been able to find to collaborate. But you have to pay money for music collaborating sites and shit like that. So, like, for instance, the Afterlife song on the Horror King album, I collaborated with my friend Val. And we were going to start a band with, it was going to be me, Val, and Eric. And we were going to start a band. And Val's very good with techno. He's very good with editing and producing and techno and shit like that. So he would have been the one that would have gotten us famous. Eric is a genius when it comes to instrumentals and writing and all that shit. Man, I'm a good singer and a good player. So we were going to start a band called Exthermic together. But they started being flaky, and they weren't serious about it. Like, we wrote that, I wrote that song with Val, the Afterlife song, and Val didn't seem like he liked it very much. And Eric didn't want anything to do with it. So I ended up taking what I had with that song. That song wasn't really finished. It was kind of just a rough cut of where we were heading. I kind of sent it to Val. I'm like, what do you think? And he kind of didn't give an answer. He's like, I don't really like it. So I ended up with that. And I'm like, well, fuck it. I'm going to just post this with me then. Fuck Exthermic. Band already fucking broke up. And that's how it is when I try to work with people. They're not serious. They're flaky. They don't like how I'm making music and shit. You know. So I was originally wanting to collaborate with other artists and musicians and shit with the FUPD album. But I highly doubt that there is going to be any collaboration other than when I steal other people's shit. So I sometimes take royalty free and copyright free beats or something, and I put them into my music sometimes, or you know, I kind of take bits and pieces of other music, and that's pretty much what music is nowadays, is everybody putting bits and pieces of other people's shit together to make music. And so that's kind of what I do, and that's pretty much the most collaboration that I get from anybody, is pretty much me taking their shit with their permission and making a song out of it. Other than that, I don't think that any of the FUPD album is going to have any other collaboration other than that. But I originally wanted to write some of the songs with other people. But I'm thinking at least 30 songs in this FUPD album. at least. And each song talking about the drug war, human trafficking, the judicial system, the mental health system, the system altogether as a whole. Fuck the police. Fuck the FBI. The Fed said dead. CDC 19 SSP. Fuck the judicial system. It's broken. Fuck the mental health system. It's broken. Fuck the police. Kind of an album. And I call it the Friendly Unified Police Department. FUPD. It's kind of like a play on words joke. Like, oh, the Friendly Unified Police Department. Oh, very nice. I like that. Yeah, supporting our local police, yes. And then it says FUPD. Oh, you dick. You're not supporting us at all. No, no, I'm not. So it's a little play of words joke on it, But, so I do a lot of work. And so when everybody calls me a mooch and a leech on society, go get a job, you bum. And it's like, I've worked fast food. I've worked Party City. I've worked King Supers. I've worked construction. I've done that shit. I don't make any money. I don't get anywhere with it. I also make music. I also make art. Starting this podcast shit. And actually, a lot of people want to do a podcast with me, too. Like my cousin Aaron, he wanted to do a podcast with me and shit. But I'm sure that's never going to happen either. One, because he's flaky. And two, he's all butthurt and mad at me right now. Because I cussed him out. Because I was sick of him treating my Grandma Rose like shit. He lives in Grandma Rose's basement. Kind of always has. And he just treats her like shit. And so I cussed him out about it. I also told him he needs to stay away from women because he's got 2 failed marriages and he's already trying to get a new girlfriend. And it's like, dude, you just need to go get snipped. Had enough kids. Had enough bastard kids. You need to go get snipped for one, and also you just need to keep your dick in your pants, dude. So I told him that and he got all mad at me, but he wanted to do podcasts with me, and I highly doubt that it's going to happen because he's also a flake. He's never going to come over here and sit down in front of this mic like I am right now. And that's kind of the thing that I get with anybody when I try to work with them artistically, is nobody can just come over and be serious about it, Let's see here. I have to go feed Cheshire Cat. This is a 2-hour podcast, so it's a good stopping point. I gotta go feed my cat. And I actually never listen to these podcasts. I don't edit them. It's literally just me talking in front of a mic. I highly doubt anybody's ever going to listen to it anyway. And also, I could not give less of a fuck what people think. It's my turn to talk on these things. And if you don't like them, you don't have to listen to them. And you can go fuck yourself. If you do like them, well, thank you. I greatly appreciate your support. Share, like, and subscribe, as they say. I definitely appreciate my fans. I call my fans bastards and whores because I am a bastard whore, and I like to be around like-minded people. So that's one of my sayings. Here's all my bastards and whores. Keep laughing and stay scared. What the fuck, VTV, fuck the world. It's kind of my slogan. So I call my fans bastards and whores, and I don't mean it offensively. I'm nothing without my fans, I know that. I'm a bastard whore myself, and we're all bastards and whores in a way, so we're all mutts. It's part of being American, so take it with pride. I mean it as a compliment. And, to all my haters and stuff out there who are constantly setting me up to fail and getting in my way and trying to keep me from succeeding in anything. Keep hating. Yeah. tell my haters never go away, like Drake always says. I'm nothing without my haters, too. I definitely need my haters, too. If it wasn't for you hating, I wouldn't be able to strengthen. Want to be forged in fire like I am. So I appreciate my haters as well. Tell my haters never go away, you know. But yeah, it's a good stopping point. It looks like it's turning into 3 hours here. I gotta go feed my kitty cat. It's 10 in the morning. Till next time.